Touchdown! What a run in the first touchdown of the 12-team playoff.
This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Anzio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik with a touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right. Here we go on this Friday. 365 Sports, David Smoak, 365 Sports until 6 o'clock as we lead you into the second full weekend of college football. Craig Smoak with me, Craig, Garrett, Brandon, and also Andrew handled yesterday and got a lot of great text on the show. We'll try to bring you that same quality and standard here today as we go over the Big 12 games this weekend at some point, and a lot of different guests on college football too. But good news for Tech, because remember, this could have gone a different way. Baron Morton will get the start. It was trending that way midweek. He will get the start against Kent State, who Tech ought to be able to pretty much name their number, but Baron Morton will get the start. He was questionable after that injury, and it looked really bad when he was hit lower around the knee in the lopsided victory against Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah, I'm happy for Baron Morton. I mean, this is a huge year for him and a huge year for Tech, and it's a big deal to have him healthy because while you may still believe in the talents of a Will Hammond, this is your guy. This is the guy who you said in the offseason when you were spending left and right to upgrade your defensive line or your offense or defense as a whole. This was the guy when people were pointing to, well, what if they go get a quarterback? Remember the Carson Beck rumor that was thrown out there that Tech quickly extinguished, and they said, no, we're rolling with Baron Morton. He's our guy. And so you want him healthy. And I did kind of wonder after the initial reporting about whether or not that was going to be the case already. And I mean, that's the story for him. That's the story for them. I think they could still win a lot of games if they had to pivot, but he's the guy who they think puts them in the best position, and it's his final year to make a big impression. So good. This is great news for Tech and for him. They should easily dispatch Kent State, and then next week against Oregon State, maybe that's a little bit more competitive, although I think Tech will still just have such a talent advantage in that one. But them and Utah are on a collision course so long as both handle their business these next couple of weekends. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Kent State 1-0, so credit to them for winning their first game. It was a 21-17 victory over Merrimack, and they scored with a little less than 5.5 minutes left to go on a 100-yard kickoff return to take the lead and win the game. So I think Tech's going to be fine this weekend, whether or not Baron Morton was going to play, but it's good news that he's healthy enough to play.
Yeah, it is. And because not only Baron Morton, but Tech in general has had, and everybody has some attrition at times at the quarterback position, but they have been through a lot at that particular position with injuries over what seems like quite some time. The Big 12 this weekend, a lot of games, as you can imagine, and not as many of the bangers. Obviously, there is that Iowa State-Iowa game. We'll get to that in a moment. You guys featured that on the show yesterday. But let's go over the games. And Utah at home as they try to go 2-0 after what was an impressive opening game with Dampier, what they did with the run game, what they did. It looked like Utah when they were racking up wins in conference championships in the Pac-12. They try to start off at 2-0. They should not have any problem with this.
No, I mean, a lot of these games are very straightforward, and there's not really going to be a lot of ones where you're stressing out too much over the result because it's just such an uneven matchup, and this is one of those. I mean, Utah and Cal Poly. Cal Poly 1-0 to start the season, but Utah, with no doubt about it, the odds in every single category to win this football game. I mean, I think for them it's just a matter of, just stay healthy, take care of your business, and move on to the next one. This will be a fun game for the fans after maybe getting a little hyped up last week over the fact you're playing a Big Ten opponent, Nico Iamaleava, and we'll see what this UCLA team looks like. And that turns into a blowout, which maybe was expected or not, but it turns out into a blowout that was very one-sided, and that was impressive. This week, I mean, they should coast and have no issues whatsoever. This is one where you expect them to do that, and you can sit back as a fan and just hope that people stay healthy, but enjoy all of the scoring and all of the fun statistics and all of the guys who get to leave the bench and play at the end of the game, the freshmen and so on and so forth. So those are always fun to have at least one of those in your non-conference schedule, and this is definitely one for Utah.
We probably have 5 or 6 of those in the Big 12, so we don't have to touch on all of them, but we'll mention them. And then the next one is a battle in the city of Houston between Rice, after they got their opening win, their new head coach, and Willie Fritz and company with the shutout of SFA. This one is tomorrow night. Houston and Rice played back in the old days, of course, before even the Southwest Conference. And the Rice Owls will try to go to 2-0, and so will Houston with what they did last week. Yeah,
Rice didn't look too bad last week. I mean, they've got some changes with what they're doing nowadays, and I think that there was an encouraging, performance in week number 1, not to the extent, though, that I would expect Houston to be on a major upset alert here. We touched on this yesterday with a couple of different guests about the Bayou Bucket and the fact this will be the last game for the foreseeable future, as Houston's just kind of, I guess for the time being, sort of grown out of this rivalry, even though I totally understand from their perspective. I think when you talk about college football and the regionality, and I think it was either Sam or Mike brought up yesterday, I mean, these are either the 2 closest universities in the country or like one of the top 2 or 3 closest universities in the country. They might be the closest of any 2 schools in the country. So, this is very much a personal rivalry, but one that's going to go away here. So I expect both teams to, regardless of all that I just mentioned, put all their best out there. But I think certainly there's a little bit of that, like, hey, this is the last time we're tangling. So for Rice especially, I expect them to be chomping at the bit. I don't think it'll be enough to beat Houston, though. Really liked just how steady they were last week. Defense was promising. Connor Wegman, 3 touchdowns. So I want to see more before I get too high on Houston one way or the other. But I am a big believer in Willie Fritz, and I think they'll handle their business this weekend.
And it's Army. After they were beaten by Tarleton State, a team that is still dangerous because if you get on the wrong side of covering and trying to defend their offense, you could get in your head. K-State, there is grumbling. Not about Chris Kleiman, but just because they lost that opening game. Remember this week we discussed, are they using Avery Johnson? That's part of the talk up in Manhattan enough or in the right ways. Chris Kleiman answered that. And Army and K-State needs to make sure they get off to a nice start. They don't need to be chasing a team that can take 40 minutes off the clock.
Yeah, and I think the K-State conversation is a little strange because they start losing and people just point to, Avery Johnson's not running enough. It's like, no, I think it's a bigger issue than that, honestly. I don't think it's all Avery Johnson needs to have more carries. I think they're being careful with him. I do think that when you're in a position where your season could completely fall off the map in the first 3 weeks, if you don't maximize your best talent as much as possible, then that's a definite thing to bring up. But Avery Johnson's not like why they're losing football games. Avery Johnson's played pretty okay. So I don't think that when you start hearing like, well, the Avery this and Avery that, I just kind of don't know that that's really the most knowledgeable take on Kansas State at the moment. I'm far more concerned about just the culture. Almost seems like a bad word to use because I don't think they have a bad culture. I don't think Chris Kleiman by any stretch is a bad coach who would have a bad culture, but it's just what I go back to with week 1. It's just something felt off with them, and it was probably just that video that came out, and then they followed it up, though, with the performance last week. So that just sort of further reinforced of like, man, something's just not quite right here. And then Kleiman talks about how the older guys are already sort of in line and know what's expected of them and know how K-State operates and some of the new guys they brought in are maybe not quite there yet? Like, does that become a problem throughout the season? Does that get fixed here in the next couple of weeks because everybody just finally sorts of gets it together? Those are the things I'm wondering about with Kansas State, and I think this will be a great test in that. This isn't Army that I think necessarily has you on upset watch, but I think Kansas State, with the way they've played the last couple of weeks, has to be on upset watch with everybody. So, yeah, I'm very keenly watching just sort of how they look, how they execute, and how it feels on the other side, because I had them low in my Mojo rankings, and that was based almost entirely, yes, very much on play, because they did not play well. Don't get me wrong. They're not playing great football, and then they're just losing at the end. Like, they did not play well last week, but I don't think they're as bad as they've looked or how bad it feels. And so, I'm curious as to what I'm talking about come Monday with this team, because if they look bad again, then that's a pattern and that's a problem.
Yeah, no, it something's off. Something's off, whatever that might be. I agree. Also, this game, North Carolina A&T and UCF, of course, trying to find their feet and what they are and who they are with Scott Frost. Got to win. But at the same time, this is a work in progress for them, and they should be able to handle A&T.
Yeah, shouldn't be too much trouble for them. You know who your guys at quarterback now with Taven Jackson. And I think UCF's just kind of a mysterious team because there's not a lot of expectations for them, and this is very much a transitional year, but they're 1-0, very likely should be 2-0, and that's a great starting point. And if Taven Jackson really is the man and brings a dimension to you and a confidence to you that you can use moving forward, then that's great news for them, because they would answer one of the really big questions that they had, and perhaps the biggest, and who's your quarterback? So perhaps they've found the guy. We'll see how he plays, but yeah, they should absolutely be 2-0 after this one, and that's a good starting point.
Arizona State, they won. They beat Northern Arizona. It wasn't, it's not like anything to write home about. They got through the game. Kenny Dillingham questioned how the team was prepared or coached. They will go on the road, and Mississippi State, of course, got a win against Southern Miss in Jeff Levy's second year there. Blake Shapen last week was pretty good, threw for 272 yards and a touchdown. I'm not trying to say this is a dangerous game, but Arizona State can't go in there and not be locked in and take advantage of beating in Mississippi State.
Mississippi State's the 16th out of 16th team in the SEC right now, but they're still in a very good league, and they get more talent than the bottom dweller of a lot of the other leagues out there. So I think Arizona State should still have a talent advantage, but it just wouldn't be the same as if you were playing the last place team in the MAC or something along those lines. So yeah, I think they need to be on alert, especially with all the cowbells and just the road atmosphere. Don't know how they'll handle that since it's their first test of doing such. So yeah, this is a nice little challenge on the road, but a game that you are confident that you should win. And I think for Arizona State, it's just about playing a little bit cleaner football and just looking a little bit sharper, because yeah, last week left a little bit to be desired, but it's understandable because it's week one, and we'll see how they sharpen that up this week. I think that'll be the key thing you're looking for the Sun Devils.
Arizona is playing their game against Weber State. You should handle that. Move on if you are the Wildcats. Noah Fafita last week, 161 yards passing. He got hit behind the line of scrimmage a lot, which is something they've got to tighten up. He had 8 carries for minus 14 yards, did score on a touchdown run, but also had negative plays. Arizona against Weber State.
Should be 2-0. Shouldn't have any problem with Weber State. I'm not all in on Arizona right now, but they are just a team I just don't really know what to believe of them just yet. Last year had a lot of confidence because of Teterow, McMillan, and Fafita and that connection and the momentum they were riding in, and then that momentum got brought to a halt, and they got just a really bad first year in the Big 12 for their expectations, and now you lose your most talented player. And I think they got off to a nice start last week. I just need to see a lot more to really know where to place them kind of in the bigger picture, though, because right now I have no idea. I know they're not on the level of the top teams, but where are they in the switching them out between a UCF or between a West Virginia or a Baylor or whoever? I still think Baylor's up in that second half, but it might be more towards the middle than it is the top. So I don't know if I'd quite put them in there. I'd take them over Arizona, but there's a bunch of teams that are in that mix for you're not quite sure where in the bottom half they are at the moment.
BYU won 69-0 last week, and Bachmeier made his debut, and they should have won big. I didn't expect it. It was dominant. They looked good. And then Stanford, of course, coming off a loss, and this one could get ugly, and BYU can name their price.
Or their score. Yeah.
Same thing.
Name their score for sure. I think this is a nice opportunity to go get a pretty easy Power 5 win, because Stanford doesn't look like they're going to be very good this year, and that was kind of the sense going into it. But are they going to be the worst team in the Power 4? Maybe. Does that matter to BYU? No, not really, because it's just about winning football games, and in the record book, it's going to say you beat ACC Stanford, and it's not going to say too much else about the minutia of why Stanford's not very good. But yeah, if they don't handle their business, then I think that would be the big takeaway from this weekend. I absolutely expect them to name their score, for Bear Bachmeier to get pulled at some point in the second half, because he's done enough and they've seen enough, and you start emptying the benches. This is an empty the bench game potentially. Now, Stanford's got D1 athletes too, so you never quite know, but I say that more out of confidence in BYU than I do in a lack of confidence in Stanford, but there is some of that as well.
Baylor, 11 o'clock at SMU. Teams that play all the way back to the times when they were in the Southwest Conference. They played a little bit recently. This game at SMU, of course, SMU in the college football playoff, feeling frisky at home. Baylor 0-1 after the loss to Auburn, and it will be interesting no matter if it's two quality teams that they play in non-conference, if they don't start 1-1 after this weekend against SMU. And SMU, again, is it going to be a handful if Baylor doesn't get tightened up and do what they do? And that means throw the ball, maybe create a turnover or two, I don't know, but can they get to Kevin Jennings? Can they put pressure on him? And sometimes that's the worst thing you could do, because he can run around.
Yeah, he's a good runner. He's not like Vince Young out there or anything, but you can't let him do what Jackson Arnold did last week. And I'm curious how Rhett Lashley takes that Auburn tape, and especially as familiar as he is with their schemes and what they do, and how he translates that into what SMU decides to do in terms of attacking Baylor on both sides. So, very curious chess match here. I think SMU's not quite what they were a year ago. They lost some pretty good players, but they've still recruited very well. Home field doesn't really mean anything to me in this game all that much. I don't think that'll be a huge determining factor necessarily. But I'll give SMU some credit for that. I don't want to sound like I'm dogging their crowd. That's not what I'm doing. I just don't think it's like going and playing in Death Valley. I don't think it's like, oh man, if this game was in Waco, I'd feel differently. It has nothing to do with the crowd for me, really. I have had a hunch Baylor wins this game all week long. I don't feel supremely confident in that. I wouldn't put my paycheck on it, but I've just had this feeling that Baylor's going to go up there and get a win. And I think the fact they played a team the quality of Auburn, of which quality is still debatable, but I think trenches-wise, there's a big difference in what Auburn's recruited. Even though SMU's recruited very well, I feel like that prepared Baylor in a good way for a game like this to follow up. And if they go 0-2, then I don't think that would be shocking. I talked about that during the offseason, if that was a real possibility. But in light of the way last week felt, and then now you're losing to SMU, even though they were in the playoff last year, that's just not going to be a good look for Dave Aranda when you've had this drought of big wins. And we've mentioned it multiple times on the show. Haven't had a top 25 win in nearly 5 years. So this is a top 25 opponent on the road. You can go and break that streak, and I think that they do. And if they don't, then there's going to start being a lot of questions.
Iowa State and Iowa. This is a long-time rivalry. Iowa has dominated over 71 games, winning 47. So 47-24. They had a 6-game winning streak up until the last 8 years. They've now split. Iowa State's won 2 of the last 3, including last year, 20-19 on a long field goal. And then they won a couple of years ago, 10-7. You've seen a lot of low-scoring games. But since Matt Campbell's been there, Iowa State has turned that corner. This one here should be one hell of a game. We'll see what happens, because Iowa is Iowa. You know how they're going to play. The quarterback play was not that great last week, and Matt Campbell and company have looked very sharp through their first couple of games.
It's one of those rivalries that are deeply personal, and you almost throw the records and the rosters out, but I think those still matter. At least the rosters do. And I think there's a clear advantage at quarterback for Iowa State with Rocco Beck versus Gronowski. So I lean Iowa State's direction before we even get into individual matchups like that, just because I feel like they've got the hot hand and they're just in a nice little groove right now. But this is Cyhawk, so the other side lives for derailing the supposed favorite season, and that's happened countless times. Last year, a thriller of a game that Iowa State walked off there at the end. I'd anticipate this will be another close game because that's just kind of how these teams rock. But yeah, give me Rocco Becht over Gronowski, and that I'll stop there before going into other individual matchups. Like, Iowa will have a good defense. They'll have some big corn-fed tight end that, makes some plays and so on. But yeah, that quarterback battle, I feel like that's very lopsided in favor of Iowa State. So give me the hot hand and Rocco Becht.
And of course, big noon kickoff. Fox is there for the pregame show tomorrow. The game in Ames, Iowa, and Iowa State after the wins, after Kansas State winning in Dublin and then taking care of South Dakota pretty easily. Kent State Tech, we brought that up, should be whatever Texas Tech wants to take care of here. Put up a lot of numbers, probably not give up much. And the good news for this game is that Baron Morton is going to start.
Yeah, Will Hammond will definitely play in this game. If not, that'll be something to be talking about because Kent State made it a much more difficult game than anybody anticipated. But yeah, I'd expect Baron Morton will start, get his numbers in there. Will Hammond will come in, so on and so forth throughout the rest of the roster, get everybody out there to get a little playing action. That's what I'd anticipate here. So yeah, Tech, name your score. Not being disrespectful to Kent State either, but what is their roster budget versus Texas Tech, for example? Well, I'd imagine it's in the tens of millions of dollars. So
it's probably one-sided as any game we're going to see this
exactly
this
right.
weekend.
So I believe ultimately talent wins out in college football. Coaching matters too. Tech's got a good coach, but they've definitely got a clear talent advantage. They've got every other advantage in this matchup as well. So I mean, we probably spent too much time in talking about it. It's clear this is a game where Texas Tech should win very, very handily.
Bowling Green and Cincinnati. God, Cincinnati had a chance with that win in their grasp, but couldn't take care of it at the end against Nebraska. Lost in Kansas City, so they've had an extra couple of days. Coach Satterfield and Cincinnati to try to bounce back. Bowling Green is their opponent this week.
I think Brennan Sorsby needs to play a lot better for me to feel good about Cincinnati. That was not a great performance against Nebraska. I give Nebraska credit for pretty much always being a solid defense. I think they're a solid defense again this year. I don't know if they're as good as Cincinnati made them look last week, but I guess we'll get a better idea of that depending on how the Bearcats play this one on Saturday. Because, yeah, that last week, I mean, not only was Brennan Sorsby not very good or very sharp, but their receivers was my big complaint coming out of that game. I feel like, that interception at the end, yes, that was a poor decision, especially in hindsight by Sorsby. But if you look at the effort or lack thereof by the receiver to go make a play on the ball, that didn't help. That certainly didn't help trying to prevent that play from happening. And there were multiple other times in that game where he throws it out there and his receivers just didn't play strong. They didn't play ferocious. They just let the ball come to them or just kind of weakly put their arms out. Like, he's got to have some guys that go out there and grab the freaking football out of the sky and tuck it in and do something with it. And if they can't get that out of their wide receiving crew, then you can't just lean on the run game all year long, which is pretty much a large part of their offense last year, but not quite the same group back there. So with this year, you roll in thinking, well, it's Cincinnati, they'll be able to run the football, but you really felt high on them because of Sorsby and his ability to run a little bit, but really to throw the ball. So yeah, that was a little bit of a red flag against Nebraska, but it was Nebraska. So we'll see if Bowling Green presents the same type of challenge.
Drew Pine is their quarterback, so he's been around, and they ran for 160 yards or so. Bowling Green did. Cincinnati, of course, had a big rushing game, but Bowling Green against Lafayette, winning by 19, gave up just 61 yards on the ground.
I mean, given all the hype around Raiola and all that, I think the Cincinnati's defense actually played pretty well. Yeah. They were in a position to win that game there at the very end and just threw a pick when they didn't need to throw a pick.
Yeah, I still don't understand. Nebraska doesn't seem like they like to throw the ball down the field with Raiola. They got to get the ball a key. They didn't get to do that much except the key fourth down touchdown pass. Now, one more or two or three or four. By the way, TCU, since they played late in the weekend, not playing this week, so they're off. Delaware and Colorado. Caden Salter and the Buffaloes trying to bounce back after losing that game late to Georgia Tech and Haynes King.
I think the most controversial slot I had in my Mojo rankings was probably Colorado at number 9 because they lost and they didn't really look good in losing, and there were some teams behind them that I ranked that I had or that I had behind them that won, and it's a power ranking or a mojo ranking with a little twist on the power rankings, and so it's not just standings, but I'm not going to give Colorado this big blanket benefit of doubt. I did it for 1 week because of the fact that it was a relatively close game, but I also understand it should have not been a close game because they should have taken advantage of all the early turnovers. Caden Salter running around like a deer in the headlights when he's played 1,000 football games, but all of a sudden he gets up to the Power Four and he looks like a guy who's completely like a fish out of water at times. Julian Lewis is going to play this week, although not start, so I'm very curious to see that. Colorado's just got to simply be better. I mean, they've just got to play better. Caden Salter's got to be better. Defense has got to be better. Deion's got to be better. Deion had some coaching mistakes, and he lashed out at the media this week, but I was proud of the Colorado fandom because sometimes I do think there are elements of that fandom that are kind of Deion sycophants, but there's also just Colorado fans who love football and know football, and I was glad to see a lot of those types of fans saying, no, Deion, like, you're not going to talk down to us fans like we're stupid. Like, dude, you messed up messed up this or that or the other, the timing in the game, the decision-making there at the end was very poor, and you cost your team this or cost your team that. And, he tried to flip it around on the fans and the media this week to some extent, but they weren't having it, and they shouldn't have had it because he's not always right. He's not always going to make the right decision, and that doesn't mean that he gets to just shield himself anytime you have a criticism. So that was deserved on his part, on his quarterback's part, and just on the team in general. So they've got to play better this week, or I'm definitely going to drop them, and I think the opinions across will change for a lot of people as well. Also,
this one, these teams, they don't like each other. Iowa State is that same mode. Kansas and Missouri. I saw where Sophie Cunningham, who's a Missouri girl, on her Twitter feed, basically with a four-letter word with a couple of those letters being blocked out by, I guess, something, basically said blank Kansas as KU and Missouri play in football. And it's good to see them play again and get back together.
Should be a hell of a game. It's one of the better games on paper this weekend, and it's always great to have rivalries return and two teams that look to be pretty good to maybe I don't want to say great in either one of their cases, but time will tell. I mean, there's a lot of time left to play, but I think Kansas has been really sharp. Missouri was excellent last week. Bo Pribula just getting into the position of being forced into being the starter. I mean, there's a little bit of a competition. His competition gets hurt, so he's just the man, and then he took full advantage of the opportunity, and Missouri rolled, and he looked good, and I think both teams feel great about where they are right now. So this one's a hell of a clash. And then you have the deeply personal rivalry aspect to it. So, yeah, this is one of the better games this weekend. And I just hope it turns out that way ultimately. But, yeah, this will say something one way or the other, depending on what that result looks like. And, if Kansas were to win this game, that would be absolutely massive for them. I think they'd be probably right there in the top 25 or close to it. And I think it would also just be a banner win for the league because last week was not a great look, but they've got some huge opportunities like Iowa State and Iowa and Baylor and SMU and BYU and Stanford and so on and so forth. But this one's the most impressive one if you're able to go and get it, would be Kansas beating Missouri, in my opinion.
It is.
I think this is a really good game.
A very even rivalry when it comes to football. 57 Missouri, 54 wins for KU and 9 ties. Missouri won the last 3, but the key is they're playing for the first time since 2011. And, of course, the next year, Missouri and A&M moved on to the SEC. Oklahoma State and Oregon, my goodness, this has been an interesting week with some back and forth with Gundy and talking about the money they have to spend to build a roster compared to Oregon, and then Lanning coming back. He's not somebody that usually just sits there, and he will fire back. This could get ugly, though, if Oklahoma State does not go in there and play well early.
I immediately take back what I said. This would be the most impressive win of the weekend. If Oklahoma State was able to beat Oregon, this would be the most impressive one by far. But I just am not very confident in that. I don't know many Oklahoma State fans that are probably confident in that, even the ones that bleed orange out of their eyeballs. But this will be a matter of, how does Oklahoma State look against one of the most talented, well-funded. Oh, sorry, Dan Lanning. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. But well-funded and just better programs in the entire country the last couple decades are the Oregon Ducks. You're going up to their place to play in this game as well. So this is a huge challenge, and I think it will say a lot about sort of where Oklahoma State is, depending on how close they can keep it. But I am afraid that this is going to get really ugly, especially after the talk this week. I do find the talk about this, like, I'm all for the drama and I'm all for having fun and being goofy in college football and coaches sniping each other. But like, I feel like this has been so blown out of proportion. I don't know what Mike Gundy said to warrant like Bruce Feldman and a whole round table of guys having a conversation about, well, Dan Lanning run up the score more than usual because of Mike Gundy's comments. It's like, is Dan Lanning the most sensitive guy in the world? And I just have missed out on that these last few years because I wouldn't have thought that. But based on the way people are talking about this, you would think that Gundy called his mom a B or something. Like, he said they're well-funded. And should he be, as the guy who benefited for so many years from T. Boone Pickens, you know, talking about money and maybe using it as some shade? No, but is it to the extent of where there's like this overarching conversation about the game? I don't think it was that controversial, but hey, it's college football, so people use the littlest of things, much less something that's hand-fed to them like that, as ammunition and ways to ramp up their roster. So Dan Lanning's definitely done that this week. Oregon will be chomping at the bit. We'll see how Zane Flores plays, and hopefully Oklahoma State can put up a good effort and maybe even make things interesting. But, yeah, this is going to be tough.
Game 2 for Rich Rodriguez, Craig, real quickly on Ohio, and West Virginia.
Yeah, I'd expect West Virginia to win, but I don't think it'll be easy, especially if they look as sloppy as they did at times last week. Can't turn the ball over multiple times like they did, and expect to go beat Ohio on the road. A little bit of a trap there potentially. Ohio's a good football program, and they're I think in West Virginia's case, just like 3.5-point favorites in this game. So, yeah, you had some fun moments. I think the mojo for West Virginia is definitely there. The fans love just the feel again, but they got to play better football than they did last week to really get back to having that mojo be certified. So this would be a nice win for them out on the road against a quality Ohio team.
We will get to Cowboys and Eagles from last night. We'll also hear from Zach Barnett. He's coming up. Matt Brown is on the show. Former SMU All-American defensive back Jonathan McGill on tomorrow's game. Ricky Thompson on tomorrow's Baylor game against SMU. And former Alabama linebacker Matthew Barnhill on the week that's been in Tuscaloosa. Andrew Valade, one of the polls up. He'll have 2, and a college football or football quiz. Brandon Rowe, Garrett Ross, Andrew Valade, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, and this is 365 Sports. So earlier today, I went by Petty Clinic, lowt.com. I told you earlier in the week, they're celebrating 10 years in business. It was great to see Dr. Petty, Dixie, Mary, and everybody else that was there. It's just off Old Hewitt Road, off of the 84 in Woodway. Great people, great business. Dr. Petty, 10 years ago, opened up the business to try to help men become high-performance men in many ways. But it was all, and he does like regular family doctor work, but a lot of it and most of it was around low testosterone issues. If you have low testosterone, you might also have a lack of energy. You don't feel right. You're not as focused. Your sex drive's not the same. Things aren't working the same. And if that's the case, Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. And he has been doing that with hundreds of patients for the last 10 years. Go to pettycliniclot.com for more information. Dr. Kent Petty, congratulations on 10 years. Can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be at pettycliniclot.com.
My go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery for my G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Drive the Motor Trend Truck of the Year during the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get a new award-winning Ram half-ton Laramie Crew Cab with $15,000 off plus 3.9% for $72, or grab a new Ram Lone Star Crew Cab, $11,000 off MSRP plus 3.9 for $72. Plus, Toyota, Ford, and GM owners get an additional $1,500 in savings right now. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Summer's heating up, but Bird Coaching Ford is freezing the prices.
Right now, get 0% APR for 48 months, 0 down, and no payments for 90 days.
Cool off with us in our freezing showroom and catch a hot deal before summer's over.
Whether it's an F-150, Explorer, or Escape, we've got the perfect deal waiting for you.
Whew. Texas weather can be crazy. Shop anytime inside our showroom or at bkford.com. Experience better at Bird Coaching Ford.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Friday afternoon, Zack, Barnett, footballscoop.com joins Craig. I'm David Smoak. This is 365 Sports. Zack, thank you very much for your time. So, what is the best or the worst thing about, let's start with that new transfer portal, which this show discussed quite a bit yesterday. But what, in your opinion, is the best part of it? Is it just maybe it's going to be one time, or is it also the worst it's going to get a lawsuit?
I think at this point you should probably counter a lawsuit because now, even though the NCAA has not admitted it, the courts view that being a college athlete is a job. And so you and I, we may sign contracts, but we are legally permitted to go seek other employment at any time we want. College athletes, in theory, are not. But at the same time, what comes to mind is the case that's going on between Miami and Wisconsin, where they had their quarterback or cornerback, last name Lucas, first name escapes me. Either way, he left Wisconsin for Miami after the portal had closed, and everyone was kind of like, "Can you do that?" And the NCAA said, yeah, we can't stop anyone from unenrolling at one school and enrolling at another school. So in the most basic terms, this may not change anything, but for most people, I think I know this is what coaches have been asking for, is just one portal window. If this had been in place last year, maybe Nico stays at Tennessee instead of transferring to UCLA, which, we'll see how that plays out on the field for the Bruins and the Volunteers, but we'll probably would have been the best thing for Nico. But it remains to be seen if this will actually be a hard and fast deadline. And we also know that coaches and programs and agents aren't going to wait until January 2nd to get their guys out on the market. All that stuff's going to start happening very, very soon.
So, Zach, I mean, it's already another college football weekend, so I don't want to spend too much time rehashing. We got all this in front of us. But in general, what kind of stuck with you from last weekend? What are maybe a couple of the big storylines, whether they results or just news notes? What kind of hung with you from last weekend's opening slate?
I think last weekend played to how we expected this season to go, in that obviously we haven't seen your Penn States, your Oregons, your other quote-unquote, your Georgias play another heavyweight, but we did see plenty of them. And this season looks like it's a wide open season, perhaps even more so than we anticipated. There did not appear to be a perfect team out there. Ohio State was the closest I saw, given that they did beat Texas in impressive fashion. They never trailed in that game, were never really in serious peril of losing that game. They did do so, only gaining 204 yards. The question is, it certainly seemed like Julian Sand was capable of more than what he performed. So I think Ohio State's a deserving number one. LSU joined that conversation. Miami joined that conversation, perhaps even Florida State. Seems like Alabama may have exited that conversation. I don't think Texas exited the conversation of national contenders. I don't think Notre Dame did either in defeat. So I think this season is just as wide open, perhaps more so than we even anticipated, in a historically wide open season to start.
What do you think about, and it's been it might be the most talked about thing of the entire week, but what do you think about the reaction down in Tuscaloosa to what they saw in that first week? And as a guy who covers a lot of coaching stories and knows the lay of the land, just your reaction to all of the hand-wringing in Tuscaloosa at the moment.
Yeah, when fans and boosters get most frustrated, obviously, is losing. But within that, it's when you lose in the same way over and over again, because it's either you can't identify the problem or you can identify the problem and can't fix the problem. And that's Alabama continually does not get up. Either they don't get up for lesser opponents, or they're not as good as we think they are. They did get up, and that's the best that they can do is go out and lose as 2-touchdown favorites by 2 touchdowns. So neither one of those is a great answer for Kalen DeBoer. We talk about the Saban standard of play to your hardest. That's a football standard. You run to the football, you give your best effort. You don't catch blocks, you take blocks on, all that stuff that Alabama is failing to meet. And this isn't a game where Florida State caught them by surprise. It was their season opener. And to carry the sins of last season into this season is an indictment on Kalen DeBoer. And now you're seeing people come at him with things I think are a little bit silly and unfair. Like, I don't like how his sideline demeanor. I don't like how he dresses in games. I don't like how he answered this question in press conferences. Well, if he was the opposite and the results were the same, it would be, well, he's just trying to be Nick Saban. He's yelling at these guys, and they see through it. So ultimately, people are mad that he's losing, and then the complaints about his demeanor in press conferences on the sideline, all that stuff is window dressing. So the only way out is to win. And the only way to win is to continue being himself.
Michigan and Oklahoma this week. And obviously, OU, they won. There were thoughts that people thought they could be more explosive or electric or whatever. Mateer did what he can do. Michigan, still kind of to be determined, but Sharon Moore played at OU. He said, I'll suspend myself, but after this game. Your thoughts about how important each of these teams, is it putting too much on this game about how important it is for Michigan or Oklahoma?
I think it's fair. I think the expectations are fair for Oklahoma. I think Michigan would be nice to win, but Sharon Moore a little bit reset his clock by starting Bryce Underwood as a true freshman. And I don't mean to cast any aspersions on Sharon Moore. We all saw Bryce Underwood's talent. So as long as you are competitive in this game and you continue to improve throughout the season, I think Sharon Moore is going to continue to be on schedule. Brent Venables really needs this game. And I say that because it's not like we're going to look back in December and if Oklahoma beats an 8-4 Michigan team but loses in Texas or loses 3 straight games in October, November, people are going to be like, well, at least he beat Michigan. It's not going to be one of those games, but it is going to be his season's very much, his tenure is teetering very much on the razor's edge. It could go either way. And Oklahoma could beat Texas and go into the last half of their season undefeated and very much in the thick of the SEC and national title races. They could come out of that game 3-3. Either one of those is a distinct possibility for them right now. And so the amount of recruits they're going to have in this game, the amount of eyeballs that they're going to have on this game, this is a yardstick game for Brent Venables to say last season was the fluke. This is how we're going to be moving forward. If you lose this game, the chatter is going to be, well, 2023 is the fluke. Everything else has been the standard of what Brent Venables is in Oklahoma. So the chatter from the Illinois State game, I'm not going to sit here and say I had eyes on that game because I didn't. But I do know they struggled to push Illinois State around in the running game. They struggled to do that against Temple last season as well, and that followed them throughout the entire season. The Oklahoma was not entirely healthy up front against Illinois State. They didn't have all their guys. A number of their guys up front are true freshmen. Are you going to be able to put those guys in, Michael Fasusi, Ryan Foje, and push Michigan around up front in their first game? Maybe, maybe not. So I don't know what the over-under is. I like the under in this game. Brent Venables is going to do his best Matt Patricia impersonation and throw things at Bryce Underwood that he's never seen before. And Oklahoma is going to try and put this game on their quarterback and not so much the running game. I like Oklahoma in a close one, 21-17, something like that.
Zach, a big one, Iowa State. Feels like the Cyclones are in a good spot right now, but this Cyhawk game always can get kind of squirrely because of just the familiarity and the rivalry aspect of it. Do you like Iowa State as much as I do? Because right now I think that they're a great shot to land in the Big 12 title game, and how much of a challenge do you think this Hawkeyes team will be for them in Ames tomorrow?
I think in these big rivalry games, a lot of times your biggest opponent is yourself and your own mindset. Matt Campbell's never beaten Iowa at home. Iowa State has not beaten Iowa at Jack Trice Stadium since 2011. So you have a little bit of disbelief that Iowa State players have to deal with. Matt Campbell was asked about this week and said, well, the atmosphere around this game is so crazy that it wears on the home teams a little bit. They start to feel it Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, maybe, but just go win the football game. You should have the better quarterback. I'm going to be very interested to see Mark Gronowski. He was a guy we were all very high on, was one of the most accomplished quarterbacks at the FCS level, won a national championship, won basically a Heisman Trophy at South Dakota State in his 3 years there. Now at Iowa, threw for 44 yards in his opener at Iowa. So I guess the gravitational pull of playing quarterback for maybe Josh Allen would throw for 50 yards if he was wearing a Hawkeye uniform. I don't know. So because of that, I'm going to give the slight edge to Iowa State because we know what they have at quarterback in Rocco Becht. I think Iowa State has a great shot at getting it done, but I know Iowa finds a way to win these games. And a lot of times in these rivalry games, the mental aspect is just as big as the physical one.
I love the comment about even Josh Allen would throw for 155 yards in that Iowa offense. So is this Mike Gundy comments about Oregon's roster and value and how much it cost, and then Dan Lanning comes back at him? Is this overblown and you love it? And then again, or no, this is kind of a bitter thing?
I think it's a case of two head coaches, and they're a little bit of rare breeds in their profession, is that they're not going to give you anything other than the truth when you ask them a question. So I salute both of them for that. So I think it's a little bit fair play to both sides. They're telling the truth as they see it. I do wonder if Oklahoma State, like in looking to this football game on Saturday, I struggle to find a single spot in the field where Oklahoma State's better than Oregon. I would have loved to see Haas Haney be able to play in this game just because he gives you a little bit of extra juice with his legs. It's very unfortunate for Oklahoma State and for all of us that he's not going to be able to play in this game. So you have Zane Flores making his first start as a college quarterback on the road at Oregon as a 4-touchdown underdog. That's unfortunate for everyone. But I see an Oklahoma State head coach and Mike Gundy that's barely even trying to compete in today's game and seems to be doing so kicking and screaming. All the vitriol has been thrown at Dabo for the transfer portal also applies to Mike Gundy. So I know they reworked his contract. They were close to going their separate ways last December. I just don't think Mike Gundy's the Hall of Famer. I mean, they ought to name the Oklahoma State Football Hall of Fame the Mike Gundy Hall of Fame for everything he's done there. I continue to think, though, that both sides would be probably better served to go their separate ways.
KU and Mizzou. This might be the most personal game. Certainly one of the most historic backgrounds to this game. As you point out, thinking you're right about this. There's an actual war behind this game. And they're meeting for the first time in quite a while. Both teams looking pretty good so far. Do you have a feel one way or the other when it comes to Jayhawks and Tigers out there in Columbia?
Yeah, this is truly one of those throw the records out games. For all the attention that UT and A&M got last November for the reunion of their game, Kansas and Missouri hate each other just as much. So this wouldn't be a ranked win for Eli Drinkwitz, but I think it'd be his biggest win at Missouri if he goes out and gets this one done. You can't not play Kansas for 14 years and then welcome them to your place and then lose that game. This is very much a postseason type game, I think, for both sides. I think Kansas is better at quarterback than Missouri. I think Missouri's better on the offensive lines. Missouri's at home. I'll lean Tigers in this one and salute to every head coach, to which either head coach gets this done, because this is going to be a pressure cooker far beyond what meets the eye.
Zach, last thing for me, and we appreciate your time from footballscoop.com. Northwestern president Michael Schill resigns. He was, of course, behind what turned out to be a bad situation with Pat Fitzgerald and the way that came back, and the university sued, and Fitzgerald, of course, was blackballed for a while, right? How could that have gone so bad? How could that investigation have gone so wrong?
Man, I hate that this is the last question because I have a whole rant here.
Go for it.
Well, I think to answer your question, how could that have gone so wrong? I think Michael Schill listened to the wrong people and didn't seek advice from the right people. Because if you wind back the clock to July of 2023, I believe it was a Friday they announced it was going to be a 2-week suspension that was agreed upon by Pat Fitzgerald. He didn't like it, but he accepted it. Everyone can move forward. And then the student newspaper had a report that came out, I believe, the next day. My timeline may be fuzzy, forgive me. And then Michael Schill came out after that and said he may have erred in only giving Fitzgerald a 2-week suspension. Another day or two goes by and announces that he's fired. And he said in that announcement, this is on me. This is my decision. I erred in only doing the suspension. This is my decision to fire him. I guess as a leader, you got to give him credit for making the buck stops here and putting the responsibility on his shoulders. But Northwestern's CFO probably right now wishes he talked to his lawyers a little bit to see, because clearly that opened them up to litigation. My greater rant here is before he got to Northwestern, he was a president out, I believe it was Arizona State, somewhere in the Pac-12. He was maybe Oregon State. Either way, he was instrumental in hiring George Kliakov to be the commissioner of the Pac-12 conference, and we all know how that went. So when in college sports, we live in this incongruence where the presidents make all the big decisions, but at the same time, we were told in COVID, when we were all, the 2020 season hung in the balance, we were told by the people that oh, you silly football people, college athletics is a $100 million enterprise. The universities are $1 billion enterprises. College athletics is a speck on the radar of what these presidents have to deal with. Okay, I'm not doubting you. Maybe that is true. Well, if college athletics is such a small deal to within higher education, then why do the presidents have to make all the big decisions? I think college athletics would probably be in a lot better space if we could just let the ADs make the big decisions, and if it's that small of a deal. If college athletics is too big of a deal to leave to the ADs and the presidents have to make the decision, then don't tell me that college athletics is such a small deal in comparison to higher education. That dichotomy rubs me the wrong way. It seems like more often than not, presidents get involved in athletics and screw things up. And I know where college athletics is a bit of a mess for lots of different reasons, but I think in the long run, we have been in a better spot if the ADs were calling the shots 20, 30, 40, 50, 5, 10, 15 years ago than letting the presidents make the big decisions.
And thank you, Zach, and appreciate your opinion on that. When we were at Big 12 Media Day, we were talking to coaches about, a lot of what's going on, and how many of them aren't even asked about, not that they wouldn't want to do something that might be what's best for them and selfish, but how many coaches are not a part of decision-making, or how many ADs are not a part of decision-making, that they're the ones running that. You're right. It doesn't seem to make too much sense. We appreciate your time and love to get the feedback and the truth serum from you. Have a great weekend, buddy.
Sounds good. Thank you all for having me.
That's Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com, with us on 365 Sports. Matt Brown from Extra Points will join us in the next segment. What happened to that EA Sports basketball video game? That seems to have all of a sudden just been, that's gone. Is it? We'll talk to Matt about that, plus much more. And he was at the UT Rio Grande Valley first ever game last weekend, and his thoughts about what they're doing there. We were going to have their head coach on, but because of the travel from where they are to going to Prairie View, there was concerns about the amount of traffic, anything near Houston, of course. And so we're going to maybe move that. We're not able to do that with Travis Bush today, but sometime in the near future. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club celebrating 11 now incredible years as they start 11 years, renovations underway. And I've told you about that. I went over there, 6 or 7 weeks ago, a lot of dust, a lot of temporary walls, etc., as they were putting an amazing upgrade that will be unveiled very soon throughout the Baylor Club. Ultimate game day weekend experience, Knox Hall tailgate on Saturday, not this weekend, but next weekend before, of course, live music will be available too. And then the McLean Stadium is the home for Baylor football and much more. But you also have weddings, event spaces, jaw-dropping views of Waco, the Brazos River. You can see the Foster Pavilion and so much more. If you want to host some sort of get-together from could be 8 to 10 people, a business meeting, symposium, or banquet, they are the place to host it, like they host ours every May for our Academic All-Stars program. The place is not normal. It's beautiful. It's extra special. The food is incredible, too. The Baylor Club. Go to baylorclub.com and tell them we sent you at 365 Sports.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
We'll have Matt Brown here momentarily from Extra Points. Oh, no, there he is with all the pennants, banners, etc. behind him. How many of those do you show, and how many others do you have that you don't put up behind? Oh, there we go. There we go.
We got a couple. I have a few behind the computer. I can't quite spin this around, but
that's okay.
We just added a few, right? I was down at utrgv over the weekend. Had to get the Vaqueros pennant back there. Got the Westminster pennant in the back corner. That's who won the first Extra Points Bowl. I'm running out of room, but I'm trying to grab them where I can.
I remember the days. I still have some pennants from back when I was a kid, like the All-Star game in Washington, D.C. I think that was in 1969, and it's like it doesn't even have anything left in the pennant. You know what I mean? It's still felt, but it's awesome. So we were going to have Travis Bush on the show. This is after we had also contacted you for today. He was going to join us, but they're having that drive around the Houston area to Prairie View, and they just weren't sure about the timing. Sure. So how much fun was that? Was it better than you thought what they've set up? And is this going to be something that they're going to be able to continue on and move forward?
So I do want to talk about the football component of it. We wrote a couple of stories. I will say this. I had a wonderful time with fellas. I have never been that hot in my life. I don't think I can quote the term that the fans and the tailgate used for the RGV in late August. It's not, it's not family appropriate. I think temperature wise, it's the first game I've ever covered where I went out to the tailgate lots at 2:30 and I brought a change of clothes with me because I was going to sweat through everything so much by 6 o'clock. So I wouldn't, I could still be, big friends in the press box and everything. But if you can set that aside, I came away feeling really bullish about the future of that program. The not just the financial infrastructure, but I think the corporate and financial and complete alignment and things they're doing to support that program are better than a lot of other FCS schools and even some FBS schools that have been doing this for a long time. This is not nothing that you guys don't already know, but for us dumb Midwesterners up here in my neck of the woods, I don't think a lot of Americans recognize how many dang people live in South Texas and how many people love football. We'll send 10,000 people to a high school game. That there's a lot of people in Mexico that really love football, that are watching the Dallas Cowboys, that are watching Monterey Tech, that have been involved in a long time, and they just didn't have any opportunities to really see it in person. Like I've never been to a tailgate that was full, where I talked to so many people. They're like, "Yeah, man, I've never been to a college football game before. I've been going to high school football games all my life. I've seen the Cowboys a couple of times, but the closest team to them is A&M Kingsville, and that's 100 miles away. Mm-hmm. That's not something that a lot of people are doing. So I think if you have that kind of talent, that kind of corporate backing, that kind of dedicated fan support, and that kind of unique pride in this area, they've already done the hard part, which is to get people to care about you. I think they can be good pretty quickly.
So is this a good or bad time to do what they're doing?
The best time to do it is for all of these things is probably 40 years ago. But and for most schools, I would say you probably shouldn't start a football team now, right? I think we can look at the schools that have started football teams since 2000. Most of them have not been terribly successful. I would consider Coastal Carolina successful, maybe South Alabama successful, but Georgia State or Charlotte or Old Dominion or Florida International, like most of them, I think have really struggled. But UTRGV has some both demographic, financial, administrative not challenges, but I think advantages compared to all of those. That I would expect this to be a team that's in the playoff in 4 years. And given the university's decisions, we got to do a med school first. Our school's really only been in existence for 12 years. It's not like we could have done this in the 70s when it was Pan-American. For most people, I'd say don't do it. For these guys, I think this actually is a good decision.
Matt, there's a story in the last 24 hours that has caused a lot of chaos, and you've been reporting about it on your timeline over the college basketball video game. And there's a lot of details here that I think are lost in translation or are still missing that we don't quite know yet. But the gist of it is EA Sports is not going to have a college basketball video game. 2K is going to, but it's going to be a ramp up process based on your reporting where there's going to be a little bit of a crossover into the NBA game, and then eventually a game that's a college basketball game, right? But I know there are a ton of questions, but there's going to be some college basketball video games to be played. It's just not going to be EA Sports, and for 2K, it's going to be kind of a process. Is that the bare bones basics of that story yesterday?
Yeah, that's about right. And the good news is, and 2K has been kind of slow playing this a little bit, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying this, but like NBA 2K 26, that video game came out today, right? Or a couple of days earlier if you were on the advanced, paid extra for it. That game will have college basketball players and college teams in it this year. It won't today. I'm told you'll be able to expect that kind of activation around mid to late February as we ramp into March Madness. But it'll happen then. I mean, you'll have a more extensive downloadable content, kind of like a tournament mode involving a little over 100 teams for next year's release. 2K and EA, honestly, are wanting to be more conservative because nobody really knows what the consumer demand is for a standalone college basketball game, right? The college football games, pre-Ed O'Bannon in 2011, 12, 13, those were all very strong sellers commercially. Millions of people bought those games every year. That wasn't the case for college basketball, and EA and 2K suspended their college basketball games before the licensing issue became critical, simply because they weren't moving enough units. Now it's been a decade. The video game market is very different. The ability to make money through live services and the video games, sports games that last longer than a year, that's all possible. But I think what 2K really wants to do is like, let's do something that we know we can execute, and let's see how consumers respond. I know that a lot of people online are very upset because if you play a college basketball game because you want to play a Stephen F. Austin and turn them into a Duke recruiting juggernaut full of NBA guys, that's not something you're going to be able to do in 2K next year. And quite frankly, I'm not sure if you're ever going to be able to do it. So I can understand that disappointment.
How much of the disappointment is that everyone got so excited about what happened with football coming back, so they just thought this was next, and next thing you know, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about this before. Since I started writing about the development of the first college football game way back in like 2022, one of the most consistent questions I would get from fans and consumers is, when are they doing basketball? And I would always tell them, like, football needs to do extremely well commercially to get anyone to even think about doing it because it's a niche product. Well, football did really well commercially, so now people are revisiting it. What I can tell you, based on the best information that I have, when EA put out that tweet in like late July, early August about March Madness coming back, that was just as much in response to me as it was about their own internal messaging. Like, there were a lot of people at EA that didn't know they were doing a basketball game. They had not been quietly developing a basketball engine or basketball software for the last 12 months. Like the project hadn't really started. And then I think in retrospect, that messaging turned out to be premature as they ended up losing out the battle of licensing here. And so I understand why people are frustrated. Like, my counterpoint would be, for as good as the college football game is, and as good a job as EA does with other sports games, like I, for one, actually like their hockey games, and I think soccer games still pretty decent. They have not been good at making basketball games, NBA or college, in a long time. And it's going to take them a long time to get good at that. So maybe this isn't the worst thing in the world.
I don't want to get too in the weeds because I know there's a lot that you don't know at this point. But one of the biggest, I guess, hand-wringing kind of responses I saw was like, they used to include everybody, and now it's only going to be about the blue bloods, or it's only going to be about 100 programs. Do you have any insight whatsoever on kind of what the plan is there? Is it going to be more geared towards the top 100? And if you're a fan of Team 275, like, I'm sorry for you, you're just not going to be in this game.
The expectation I would set, at least for the first year of release, is, if you're a fan, I'm looking at the pennants behind me. If you're a Dartmouth or a Sacred Heart, or like a Brown fan, you're probably going to be out of luck for this first game. If you're a fan of a team in the P4 League or the Big East, or a high-level team from the Pac-12 or the American, I think your chances here are pretty good. What I have heard from people with knowledge of this game's development process is part of the reason they don't want to include everybody is because what 2K wants to do is like do a facial scan of every single player at all 100 of these schools and do the exact same level of detail that they do for the NBA, for recreating people's arena as close as possible, getting everyone's like, not an AI rendition of what someone's face looks like, but an actual scan. And if you show up at trucks on campus or at the Portsmouth Invitational or at a couple of these like major, off-season recruiting events, you can get a lot of those guys, especially if you're like looking at mostly top 400, top 500 kind of players. It gets harder to do that for the bottom end of the Big West and the Southland. At least in the beginning. When you look at teams, I mean, certainly they never did that in 2007, 2008. The hardware didn't allow it. And when you look at games that have a huge number of teams, like EA Sports College Football, like EA Sports FC, they're not putting in the exact copy of every stadium. They're not doing a face scan of every single guy in Brazilian Series B soccer or in the Turkish league for EA Sports. It's not because they're lazy. It's just like that's not logistically feasible under this development timeline. Now, could things change? Sure. It's September 5th. We're a long way from the finish line for any of these things, but that's what has been relayed to me so far.
Matt, on the bowl game that you did, and your announcement back earlier, about a month ago, that you're going to do it again.
Yeah.
You have so much on your plate, and you're involved in a lot of things, and then just covering sports too. But how much behind the scenes do you hire somebody to run that event? Is that how busy is that to-do list?
Well, the to-do list is definitely very busy. I think we're all in the same boat here, whether it's you or me or Mac Rhodes or anyone else. We are blessed to be working in this business during interesting times. So there's always something going on. We are really fortunate for the bowl game that, at Extra Points, we're not expected to do the major blocking and tackling for the event. We have awesome partners with Visit Canton. We have awesome partners with the NFL Hall of Fame. Our 4 conference partners and open doors for this event have been really helpful. So we're involved, and I do need to spend time on this about every week, but it's not a 30-hour week commitment for us right now. The biggest thing that we do is cut the check, bring the microphone, and find ways to connect other resources to these athletes to make it the best experience. But yeah, we run 2 newsletters at this point. We're in software development for Extra Points Library and for Athletic Director Simulator. I do some travel. We're trying to break news. It is a lot. I'm lucky that we have the resources where it's not just me. We have a couple of employees full-time at Extra Points and a few other part-time people. But Lord knows I'm definitely busy all the time.
Had you ever been to Canton, where they have Tom Benson Stadium? You ever been there before you sponsored? You're in Chicago, so it's not like that's not just around the corner.
It's funny. I live in Chicago, but I grew up in Ohio. I went to Ohio State. I'm from Lincoln County. But the crazy thing is, I've covered high school games in that part of the state. I had never actually been inside the Hall of Fame until last year. As part of this program, all of the participating teams get a private tour of the NFL Hall of Fame the day before. And we were able to be a part of that tour with them. And I think that's kind of a cool moment given the schools that we're working with, where so many of them are from Western Pennsylvania. They're from Northeastern Ohio. And that's really the lifeblood of the historical home of professional football in this country. Not just Canton. You're looking at guys in the 20s and 30s that are from their hometowns, that are from down the street from their campuses. And I think that's one of the most cool parts of this bowl game experience.
I've been there once, and it was in 1991 when Earl Campbell, I was broadcasted in Tyler, of course, was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I did my show with a little telefax machine and an analog phone line.
Yeah.
And it was just marvelous. Absolutely incredible.
And I think they've done such a good job since then. Like I've been to a couple of the other professional sports Hall of Fames and some other areas. Tom Benson Stadium is wonderful. It would be a first class FCS facility. It's better than some FBS facilities I've been to, from luxury boxes to amenities to sightlines and everything. The Hall of Fame itself is modern and updated. If you're a history dork, being able to go in there and look at all the Super Bowl rings from like the 1960s up until now, where you need like a crane to go pick them up, to see all the jackets and to be connected to everything. I think that's special. One of the things that was really important to us when we decided to get involved with this bowl game, and it's been a guiding principle as we've turned down some opportunities to be involved in, I think, other kind of multi-team events or third-party events, is we want whatever it is to be something that's really additive and special for the athletes. It's cool to go to Vegas or the beach for a couple of days and play a couple of high-level college baseball teams, But I don't know if that's necessarily super special if there's 8 other things that are doing that. Like right now, I think the Extra Points Bowl and the rest of the Open Doors Bowl series, that's like the Fiesta Bowl of Division III, because you compare, I think, what you get there versus what you see for some of the other bowl games, which are just on campus or at a high school field and just kind of get off the bus and play. It's great to play again. We want to be able to do something different, and we're constantly looking for ways to do that for other sports.
We had Zach Barnett on, and my last question for you
Sure.
from footballscoop.com.
Sure, I know Zach.
And I brought up the Northwestern president resigning because of the Pat Fitzgerald firing and the investigation and all of that. You're tied into a lot of what happens through the administrations and much more.
Yeah.
I asked this question to Zach. I want to get your feedback. How could that have gone so wrong?
Well, I think what's important for all of us with the Northwestern situation specifically is to not attribute the Pat Fitzgerald firing and the fallout from that as the primary reason for President Schill resigning. It was unquestionably a factor. It definitely alienated some key donors. I think we can look back and think like, boy, this investigation was rushed. This was the guy that didn't have all, it happened right a couple of weeks, really, I think, after the president got to campus, didn't really have any political capital or built with people there. But over the last year, you've also had more postdoc students at Northwestern graduating. You have the university facing a very uncertain financial future after losing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in federal grants. You have some adversarial challenges here with the city of Evanston, with Chicagoland in general. There's a lot of academic and political reasons why this guy is losing his job that have nothing to do with football. Football is just one of those things. What I tell university presidents and when I tell ADs, and this comes up a lot in the search firm world too, that I think is a major problem in college sports, is that schools don't hire university presidents because of sports, but schools sure do fire presidents because of sports. And that's a difficult thing when you come in there and recognize this is not going to be, this is going to be 5% of my time. This is not the most important part of my job, but if I screw this up, I will absolutely be kicked to the curb. And I think we can both think of examples all over the country where that's happened.
Hey, man, as always, Matt, great stuff. I have the newsletter. I subscribe to the newsletter. It's worth it. There's sometimes I don't have all the time to read through it, but I'll print it sometimes because I kill trees. And then I'll piece together the stories that you have. Great job, as always. Thanks for your time. Appreciate
you, brethren. Thank you. Take care.
Matt Brown, Extra Points with us. By the way, from Grayson Ganoush in the chat room, EA Sports doesn't make great games anymore. It makes games that can capture a guy's attention for 2 weeks before he realizes the huge flaws in it. Look at anyone on YouTube critical of the EA Sports games.
Yeah, I haven't watched much of the reaction to this year's college football video game. I did last year. I'm not somebody who plays a lot of video games. It's nothing other than I just don't. It's not one of the things I do on a constant basis, but when I've checked in on it, I have seen a lot of criticisms for this or that by the people who would know and play those games religiously. Much like with Madden every year, seems there's always some complaints about things. But I'm glad he was able to clear up the confusion on the basketball video game reporting because as of yesterday, it was like the game was canceled. And then last night, like 8:30 or 9, another report dropped on, well, the 2K is going to do this, and they're going to have this, and they're going to have that. And it wasn't really clear yesterday afternoon exactly what was going on or kind of what was happening other than EA was clearly not going to have a game now. And part of that was that a bunch of schools were signing their licensing deals with 2K, but there are more details that trickled out. I know it's not the biggest deal in the world, but for the people who care, it is. And there's a lot of people that were looking forward to a college basketball game. So you're going to get it. It's just not going to be standalone, like he said. And it's not going to include everybody under the sun, which I get from a business perspective. Like, how many games are you selling because you can play with, who am I going to offend right now? Dartmouth basketball. Like 20 copies don't get sold, 2,000? Like, I don't know. But there does have to be some business sense involved as well. And I don't know what the cost is of having the ability to have another batch of teams versus just excluding them altogether. So we'll find that out. And for those that play the college games, they'll be on top of it. So I look forward to hearing more about kind of the development of it because it was interesting to watch during the football game how that all came together and the excitement around that. And I'd expect it'll be not quite that level, but something similar, although that was a bit of a rocky start to the talk because of just the not misinformation, but just the kind of the way the information was flying around. He didn't quite know till late last night of like, oh, we're still getting something. It's just not what we thought it was going to be.
So I got to ask you guys questions, and Brandon, Garrett, obviously Andrew and Craig. I mentioned it when the EA Sports decision, when they announced they're coming back, and it was explosive with positivity. Did it end up being what everyone thought it was going to be? And is it as good as the original? You would think so because of technology and what people can do.
I'm the wrong person to ask. I don't play it.
Brandon?
So Brandon could probably answer that.
I would say it. I mean, some of the people in the comments even sum it up. Like, I think it's a lot of copy and paste at this point. But I think they do make like improvements to the software, which makes it really cool. Like being able to see the entrances and stuff like that, which is obviously a big deal to a lot of people. But I think as far as like graphically, I think that they get so focused on, well, we can recreate you in this virtual world. And then some people will do it with their phone and it just looks like crap. So then it kind of gets boring to me after a while. That's like not my main focus of video games that I play. But I mean, like my dad, like he's a huge fan all the way since Madden 2000 and everything. So I've kind of grew up with it, but yeah, I think it's gotten better, but there's still a lot of things that you're like, man, it just feels like a video game rather than like being like something you want to pick up and play all the time.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if you're somebody who loves the dynasties and just building that and doing that for like years on end, then I think that's still the game for you. But if you're somebody that's looking for like shakeups and kind of newness to it, like it can be very repetitive, right? It's just kind of the same old thing after a while is kind of the sense that I get to from some people.
Yeah, like the drafting and stuff, that's all cool. Like playing like an owner, it's cool to experience it, but it's like something that you can't really come back to because then it's just the same over and over again. It's not like they said. I mean, you get bored of it kind of after a little bit. You pick it up and then you just kind of put it down.
So the football game comes back out again. Is this going to like lose its momentum and no longer? Or the drought was because of all the lawsuits and image and all that they couldn't run it anymore, right?
Yeah, I don't think that they're ever going to lose steam on it. I think even it was because of all the lawsuits and stuff. But I think after they took that break and came back, they realized what the fans want.
Yeah.
And EA is kind of under fire just in general of just how greedy of a company they've been with like adding downloadable content. But yeah, as far as like a football game, I think that they do the best job and they've gotten a lot better. And I think a lot of fans just appreciate being able to play like a college game. So I think as far as like basketball and stuff, I think I personally don't really see like a view in it because I think a lot more people stick to 2K and that's just if that's their fan base.
All right, good to hear all that. Great feedback. We need to get a camera back there. Didn't we have one, Garrett, at one point, or is that? Yeah, I just think it'd be nice to like if I put Andrew on the spot. I want to see Andrew. By the way, Andrew put up a poll earlier. There'll be another one. And then also he'll have a quiz. How many today? One or two? Two quiz questions that we'll have later in the show. Coming up around the corner, Matthew Barnhill played at high school here locally at Midway, then went to Alabama, was there during some glory years, no doubt. Who knows what's going on with them into the future. Was it a bump in the road or was it a cliff? They fell off the cliff against Florida State. Matthew will give us his he reached out to me, wanted to talk about it as a former Alabama linebacker, and he'll join us in the next segment. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, big truck, big deal right now at Alan Samuels Car Dealership in Waco. Take $15,000 off. Powerful, new 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie, or you can lock in 1.9% APR for 72 months. That's your choice. It's luxury, strength, serious savings, all in one legendary truck, but it won't last all that long. Heavy-duty blowout sale on Alan Samuels right now when it comes to $10,500 off a 2025 Ram 3500. Towing, hauling, getting the job done, durability and power and savings. Again, it's not going to last that long, so take advantage of that right now. And one more heavy-duty blowout sale, the massive savings, $11,000 off a 2025 Ram 2500 Unlimited the luxury, the power, the towing muscle, and much more. The deal is right there for you. It's Allen Samuels as they open up this month of September this week. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
In our logo and Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC. An equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
365 Sports, halfway through today's show. David and Craig Smoak, 365 Sports on YouTube and also live on Twitter. Matthew Barnhill, man, you look businessman mode with the suspenders and everything. How you doing, young man? He played at Midway High School, played at Alabama, and he joins us now on the show. What are you doing these days?
Appreciate it, Smokey. I am a property tax consultant. I actually work with McGuire Sponsel up here in Dallas, and I'm coming to you live here from Energy Square overlooking Gerald Ford Stadium, where the Baylor Bears take on SMU tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Smokey, honestly, I've been better. Week 1 was a tough start to my football experience. Of course, our rival Auburn came down to Waco and beat Baylor, and Alabama lost in 4-4, obviously, to Florida State. So we've had better starts to the football season before, but it's only uphill from here, that's for sure.
Matthew, we understand the history, tradition, and what Alabama fans expect. There have been glitches in the road over the years where, Paul Bear Bryant left and Gene Stallings eventually left. And now, of course, Saban leaves. Do you have in your phone, like former Letterman, former teammates texting about what they saw last weekend and even carried into last year?
I don't see it too much from the team and the former players. Obviously, you want to support the program as much as possible. But I have seen backlash all over just about everywhere else in the media, in society. Just about everybody else seems to be, finding a ton of joy out of Alabama's downfall. Obviously, I can come and be the resident Alabama fan that's upset about how their team is going, and that's going to light up a whole bunch of Texas and Texas A&M fans around Texas.
Matthew, what did you think of what you saw against Florida State in that first game? What stood out as maybe something is maybe an overreaction by people, you think? But what are also the very real concerns coming out of what you saw against the Noles?
Yeah, no, I thought we really struggled to find an identity in our offense. There's inconsistency between the pro style, tried to introduce some spread and a little bit of power. Obviously, we started out really strong running the football and seemed to abandon that. On the defensive side, Bama got pushed around, and I thought that it would be a long time before I had to say that, or I did say that. But our vulnerabilities were exposed, and that was Castellanos. He played a great game. But really, we just got pushed along the line of scrimmage and really did not put up a fight. And that's it was disappointing to see. It's disheartening, and really we expect more out of that defense moving forward.
So there were some replays of some of Brandon, when I'm talking, because there's an echo. There were some replays where it looked like it was not full throttle effort. Does that bother you more than if somebody's just not good enough to play?
Yeah, you can deal with somebody who goes out and tries their hardest and fails. That's a different thing than somebody who quits. And I'm not saying that's what we did, but I'm saying the generality of loafing kind of gives that vibe of quitting, and that's not something that we see. You make somebody quit, and that was the MO of our team for a long time. And just to kind of roll over and let somebody overpower you and take over the fourth quarter of a game, that's not typical to what we see out of Alabama. And that's definitely raising some alarms here moving forward with debored at the helm.
Matthew, I was just curious, how much has what you learned from Nick Saban applied into your life post-college?
Yeah, well, I take it directly here at my job. Actually, I've introduced the culture standards, the 5 pillars: commitment, discipline, effort, toughness, and pride. I was able to take that, make some tweaks to it and apply it to the business world. And we found that people seem to be more motivated, and we've gotten better results out of it. So it's funny to see how there's different applications of that standard, but it goes to show that is a culture of success, and it promotes success. And when you lack in those facets, it can lead to vulnerabilities that get exposed, just like what happened against Florida State week 1.
Does it hurt or does it make you feel good when you hear or see old videos, and you lived them because you were there with Nick Saban, whether at a weekly press conference a couple of days after the game on a Monday, after a game, win or they didn't lose much, as you know. Does it hurt, or just like, God, man, I was fortunate to be a part of that?
I've started to get to the latter point that you made there, but for a while there, it hurt. It hurt. My wife would go and testify that I played Nick Saban pregame speeches before each game just to get fired up and excited. And obviously, such a special leader. He had a way of getting the most out of everybody, out of promoting a culture and doing anything the way he did everything. And that, it almost chokes you up when you're able to achieve that much and promote such a culture of winning and dominance and that standard. So I've gotten to a point of, wow, it's been an absolute blessing to have been able to learn from Saban, Coach Saban, and apply what I learned to my life here. So I've started to move in there. I've started to kind of accept that those days are gone with him as the coach, but I will never ever look at him without a smile on my face and nothing but gratitude in my heart.
What was the hardest moment he ever, you experienced with him, whether individually, position group, or otherwise?
Hardest moment meaning just him being tough in general, or just having to overcome?
Yeah.
I have personally experienced a couple what we call butt chewings here on air from Coach Saban, and they're never fun. Anytime he's in your face, it's a level of intensity that you can't imagine. But having the ability to do that, that brings the most out of your team. And of course, I saw that applied to many of my other teammates, and just that having the ability to flip on a dime just like that. You're on your toes at all times, and your head's on a swivel.
Greg Byrne, the AD, made comments, it's been a few months ago, that Alabama just doesn't have the ability to maybe keep up with some of the other schools that are have the ability, have the funds, the revenue. It's hard to imagine Alabama doesn't, but at the same time, things have changed. Alabama, they're not going to fall behind the curve, right? The commitment is there. They will find what they need to get this thing off the track, back on the track.
Obviously, that's what I'm hoping for. And, right now, year two, just the beginning of year two, I'd say just to look at this fairly, let's drop the wins and loss and just look at culture. Is the culture remaining at a standard where you're holding yourself accountable, you're holding the team accountable, and you can get the most out of that to promote a championship culture? The second that I see that starting to lack, that's when the warning flags started to go up in my mind, in my eyes. That happened week one. So yeah, the alarms are flashing, the warning flags are up right now. But if he can maintain that culture, then I think we'll be okay. The second that starts to slip, then there will be other issues to address.
So are you worried about whether or not that culture can, kind of be regained? I mean, what do you think is going to happen here with Kalen DeBoer and Alabama the rest of the way? The schedule doesn't get any easier, and that wasn't supposed to be hard with Florida State coming off 2-10.
Yeah, I think that, it's going to be okay in my mind. Okay, meaning we're not going to fall into disrepair. But I think that Kalen DeBoer has probably heard enough from everybody else to justify me not giving an opinion on his future there. But I think that that's going to light a fire under the team. I don't think that Kalen DeBoer is going to roll over. I believe in him, and I think that he can turn it around. But, there is a point where there are cracks in the armor, there are chinks in the armor that are starting to get exposed. And if those don't get addressed, I think that, there's a point where you lose the fan base. And I don't want to see him get to that point.
So you didn't enjoy Auburn coming into Waco, your hometown then, and taking care of business against Baylor, huh?
I sure did not. Obviously, Baylor is the second school that I root for. My whole family seemed to have gone to Baylor at some point. But Auburn coming in, beating Baylor, it's never a good thing. I'm not a big fan of Auburn when it comes to football, obviously. But, I was hoping Baylor would get the win, start off the season strong. But, I hope they're able to get some chalk in the win column tomorrow against SMU.
Yeah, and that's not going to be easy after the loss to Auburn. So last thing, you've now been out of the game, what? How many years? What was the last time you were your last year at Alabama?
It's been 5 years now.
Has it really been 5 years? My goodness.
It sure has.
Yeah, okay, so 5 years out of the business. Do you have any aches and pains from when you played the game at that level?
Luckily, I was able to escape with just a shoulder. We were able to fix that a couple times. But I feel it in the shoulder. Everything else is good. I'm still walking fine. I hope that everything seems fine in the head. My wife might have something else to say about that. But yeah, I'm feeling great. Things are good. And I really appreciate you having me on here. I hope all is well with you as well.
Hey, you too, buddy. Good to see you again. By the way, your high school alma mater's off to a 2-0 start with explosive play. Not sure about what they're doing against the run, but they're putting up a lot of points.
I know, that was explosive. Last I checked, I saw the win against Round Rock Westwood. Great start for the Panthers. We're always going to root them on. And, we hope that they can get up to the standard of what we left it years ago as well.
Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate your time. Former Alabama Midway High School linebacker Matthew Barnhill on the week after that opening loss to Alabama. A lot of it, of course, he's talking about the culture and what he learned playing under Nick Saban. It's some guys can follow the legend, and usually they don't. Usually they don't have that same success because the legend is a legend because of the kind of success they had.
Yeah, well, you're not guaranteed to have the best coach and the best team in college football every year for your entire life. So sorry to those 22-year-old Alabama fans who feel like the world is ending because of what happened last weekend. Just part of the deal, and I still think Kalen DeBoer is a quality coach. I'm ready to get to a new weekend so we can stop hearing about the death of Alabama after one game, but I get why there are concerns. And look, they have more games to play. If they go drop a couple more, then we'll hear this conversation grow louder. But I think for the opening game against a team who's maybe just a little bit better than people expected, but also in which you didn't perform well, for a program as passionate, a fan base as passionate as that, they are, letting it be known this week that they are not happy. So we'll see how they play against UL Monroe. And obviously Saban has his own history with UL Monroe, big premier loss in his early days there at Alabama. So it's just kind of funny, the timing of that. But I think, there's reasons to have questions. I also feel like there's an entire season left to play. So yeah, week 1, not good. What about week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? If those stack up, though, then yeah, Kalen DeBoer is going to be in a lot of trouble as far as his future goes there in Tuscaloosa. So as big of a job as it gets, definitely one to keep tabs on, and everybody is, and everybody will continue to, because we, for the last 20 years, had nothing but basically positives when it came to that program. An occasional loss, an occasional high-profile loss, but nothing along the lines of kind of the feelings coming out of that game last week have you experienced in a very, very long time if you're an Alabama fan.
Yeah, I bet there were some, especially the diehard, but when you're like, you get like, wow. And that's why you always hope you enjoy and cherish the good things that you have. That doesn't mean you do, because you want more. Andrew, we'll have both poll results at the end of the show. Andrew, do you have the quiz available for us right now? Brandon? All right, let's do the quiz. And then I got a note about the history of the Associated Press football poll that you may not know about. All right, who is the first man to win the Heisman Trophy and then later coach a team to a national championship?
Steve Spurrier.
Steve Spurrier. That there aren't many. I don't even know if there's a list of more than one. Steve Spurrier won the Heisman at Florida in the mid-'60s and then went on to win the national title with Danny Werfel the year after he was embarrassed in the Fiesta Bowl by Nebraska in '95.
Yeah, he was a really fun coach, and I learned about his playing days along the way because I was just the age where he was a coach to me. But yeah, then when I learned about him being a Heisman Trophy winner and all that, just raised my level of respect for his expertise. Wasn't always the fondest of him, but as I've gotten older, I have a different appreciation for Steve Spurrier and would love to have seen him in his prime, not now, obviously, but in his prime, chopping it up with the guys who he was kind of a predecessor to, like a Lane Kiffin, or even going back and forth with the, not Urban Meyer, Nick Saban anymore, but the Ryan Days, or not even Jim Harbaugh now. Like, we lost a lot of characters here recently, and there's been some good guys to fill some of those roles, but Spurrier was definitely a character in his day, and would love to have seen him in his prime in this era talking about NIL and just his opinions on all of it. I know he still shares them. It's just a little bit different when you're so far removed like he is. I know he's still connected, but he's on the other side of all that at this point. So good to hear him pop in occasionally when he does. But yeah, when he was in his prime, he was as entertaining and divisive and, good as it gets.
Yeah. And by the way, tested the waters in the NFL, did not work out at a franchise. It's a mess in Washington. He was a hell of a player. He would be, and even everyone, I think it was recently, didn't he make a comment about Arch Manning? That he's like, hey.
Yeah, he pops in every once in a while. I don't know exactly what he does at this point, other than just the occasional.
Plays a lot of golf, Craig.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. The occasional appearance. But yeah, he talked about Arch Manning here recently, and I'm trying to remember what that conversation was that he said, it was kind of a swipe at Arch. Yeah, I don't know. He was just kind of talking about the backlash, and I guess here in the last day, I haven't paid much attention. So I'm talking about Spurrier pops in. Like, apparently, he's popped in like recently. He was on a podcast, another duly noted podcast, talk about Texas. Said, I don't like their game plan. I don't really like how they do it. When I coach, everybody knows I coach the quarterback and call the plays. So in between, I go there and sit on the bench with him if something happened. Look at this, look at that. So I talked to him during the game. Arch, I don't think anybody was talking with him. He goes and sits with his teammates over there, put a headset on, talk to the guy up top or somebody, but there was no communication. No, come on now, you're going to be all right. They just sort of left him out there, and it didn't work out very well for their offense. And yeah, he said this past summer that most people picked Texas to win the SEC and Arch Manning winning the Heisman. And he said, my question is, if he was this good, how come they let Quinn Ewers play all the time last year? And he was a 7th-round pick. So that was the one we're thinking of. But apparently, yeah, he commented just yesterday on them, I guess, not coaching up Arch enough on the sidelines. So, yeah, he's still out there with the hot takes, and love him for it. That's Steve Spurrier.
All right. The second quiz, Andrew, who was the first athlete to appear as a guest star on The Simpsons?
Never been a big Simpsons watcher, so I have no idea. I'm going to say Wade Boggs.
Wade Boggs is such a random name among that group. Let's see what the answer is. Magic Johnson. First athlete to appear. There you go. Do it again. There we go. I like that. Appear on The Simpsons in 1991. Homer Defined, season 3, episode number 5.
I just for some reason remember Wade Boggs being on there. I don't know why. I don't know if this is a piece of pop culture from the 90s where that's like put in my brain. And I mean, I'm sure that pretty much all these well-known athletes have been on The Simpsons at some point or another. So yeah, anybody would have been a good guess, but Magic makes a lot of sense, especially in 1991.
We'll have Andrew's poll results at the end of the show. Paul will have a top 5. He's out until next Wednesday's show. This note from the Associated Press, of course, they have the poll that came out again. They have another one that comes out, past the weekend. So the first time they ever had any kind of Associated Press poll that's official was in October of 1936. Hear the date that I said, October of 1936. Minnesota was the first team ever ranked number 1. What they eventually did, this was Alan J. Gould in 1935, ranked teams, and he even admits this, to a developed interest in controversy between football Saturdays, debates, controversy, sound familiar, and then they eventually, in 1936, a limited panel of sports writers, voters, including 66 that were spread across the country in various regions of the country. So there's when it all started, why it started, but it was started by AP sports editor Alan J. Gould in 1935. All right, coming up around the corner, we'll have Ricky Thompson, former Baylor wide receiver and also sideline analyst. He'll join us about Baylor SMU. And then Jonathan McGill, All-American defensive back at SMU. He'll join us for a note or two as well. Have you made your choices? Have you put in your picks when it comes to our weekly college football promotion? You can go to officestop.com. I'm getting on mine because I thought I made mine earlier.
I don't think that's the address. I think it's an office pool stop.
Office pool stop. That's right. I'm getting on it now. Officepoolstop.com. If you haven't, thanks to Kim Coulter, North Star funding partners, $100 Visa gift card to winner Troy or Banky won week number 1. So if you haven't, I'm going to try to get our particular link up, get that to you. 10 games, winner gets a $100 Visa gift card, and we'll have that for you in just a moment. This is 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com now offering a full body MRI, full scan of your body for an MRI. And I can tell you this story that there was a patient that everyone thought was seemingly in great shape, but they said, hey, what the hell? Let me check. Maybe there's something that is not doing well, a muscle, a ligament or whatever, and I need to know about it. For example, if you think your shoulder has maybe rotator cuff or lumbar in your lower back or something to do around your neck, abdomen, knees, you go in specifically, your doctor orders an MRI on a specific part of your body to see what they can see and get better evidence. $497 or less for any MRI for a single purpose, like, for example, your lower back. But now they have full body scan, an MRI, and there was a lady that said, I'm going to do that. And what they found was not good. Cancer in various parts of her body that she didn't even know about, and she felt okay. So they were able to get ahead of that when otherwise they wouldn't have even known it was there. So they do now, and it's not $497. It's more expensive than that, but that's a possibility if you want a full-body MRI from Ideal MRI, Dr. Ralph Maxey and Company, inside the Central Texas Marketplace off I-35 in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved, learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com. This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Around the corner, Ricky Thompson, Jonathan McGill, and much more. Hope your football team wins this weekend so you can have a good weekend and also enjoy it, and then come back on Monday and talk a little trash, especially when there's a couple of the good ones. In fact, we had our 5 picks. We put that up earlier in the week. Michigan, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Iowa State, Illinois, Duke, and the Baylor game against SMU. Now, South Carolina, the Gamecocks, right? South Carolina Gamecocks with a new promotion. They have the Cockblocker of the week.
Okay, not that you have any follow-up. Okay, all right. Well,
I was kind of having there's some giggles.
If I just didn't say anything, how long were we going to? Yeah,
I was. Yeah, this is from Garrett, who sent this to the group because he's that guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting promotion. It's an interesting promotional
go ahead and put it back
tactic
up
to, I guess, go that route. And it's a funny play on words. And CB18, I wonder if that's like a former player or something with those kinds of initials. Maybe it's just let's see, CB18 Bar and Grill. Just figure that sounds like a player's nickname or something, but maybe not. Okay, Gamecocks legendary quarterbacks Steve Tannehill and Jeff O'Hara were part of the original opening of it, and I don't think any of us care about the rest of that history. But when I saw that, I thought of all the athletes who go by those kind of monikers now. But yeah, that's cool. Cool NIL sponsorship, funny play on words, especially for the very immature. And yeah, that's NIL right there. That's exactly what that is, and what it's supposed to be is things and promotions like this. So very cool to have the offensive line getting rewarded and getting a little love for their performance every week. I think that's a smart deal.
Supporting offensive linemen, there's not enough of that in this college football world. All season long, each winner goes home with a tailgate package of 50 wings, a T-shirt, and money. And there's the NIL part of it. So enjoy the best wings in town from the CIB 18 Bar and Grill on Twitter. So there we are with
CB18.
CB18 Bar and Grill on Twitter.
That's cool. I mean, it's a great deal for the O lineman, and nice use of NIL, like I said. And yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I was hoping we would be talking as much about as anything, rather than the guys with their Lambo leases that don't ever turn into anything other than they just got Lambos for NIL. And this is actually, there's something to it, and cross promotion that's actually legit, not just you showed up for 5 seconds to film 10 seconds of a commercial and then we gave you $50,000 for it. This is on point. So good jobs by CB18 Bar and Grill, and also the Gamecocks for making that happen for the O-line.
Before we get to the Matt Rule audio, I'd like to know what Garrett was Googling on the internet to find the Twitter about South Carolina's honoring, or this particular restaurant honoring, a South Carolina offensive lineman. Now, Nebraska approved the sale of beer. A lot of stadiums have done that for a long, long time. Some have recently, some probably never will, but they approved it. We were at a game, as we mentioned, last year when they hosted Illinois. There was no alcohol inside the stadium, but they have done that now. And this is Matt Rule responding.
Fans, of any fans in the country, our fans can go have a beer and a hot dog and watch the game. And I think our night game atmosphere is elite. I mean, if it's any better, then I'll buy the beer. Gracious. I mean, it's just so fantastic. So I can't wait for it, honestly.
There you go, Matt Rule discussing the sale of beer at Memorial Stadium. I would think if there's one, now every place you get overserved, but if there's one place that I think that could probably enjoy that and not have to worry about it, even though there's 70-some thousand people every game, is Nebraska.
What do you mean?
Well, he was answering a question about whether they can get a little bit too rowdy.
Oh, okay.
I would think the Nebraska fans, well, although they're getting kind of frustrated.
That's a homer call. I think they're just like any other fan base.
No, they're very pristine and very very sweet.
I don't know about all you others that drink the beer and get out of control, but I think the Nebraska fan base will stay upright and sober and out of trouble. I don't know.
If they're allowed to have only two, they will not have three. That's the way they are.
Well, I don't know. First of all, what stood out was that was kind of a cool looking hoodie or something or whatever Matt Rule was wearing there. I thought that actually looked pretty sick. So was that Adidas that he had on?
Yeah, can you put that back up again, Brandon?
Of any fans in the country, our fans can.
Yeah, it almost looks like
a jersey over a hoodie look is what he's got. But I like that's a nice little look. It's a cool Adidas jersey, like that script. Would you rock that, Garrett? Yeah, Garrett said, hell yeah, I would.
I like the hoodie. I don't know what the hoodie says on it, but that almost looks like, remember the old Chicago White Sox when they had those baseball uniforms?
Well, it looks like a jersey over a hoodie is what it looks like. That's what he did, is he put a shirt over a hoodie. But yeah, that's a cool little Adidas look right there for Matt Rule. I mean, great news for Nebraska fans. We were there last year, and one of the big complaints, there wasn't many at all, but one of the only complaints, and maybe the only complaint actually, outside of just not having a lot of time to really sort of take it in because we're just traveling wise very busy, but at the actual game there was absolutely no complaints whatsoever. And I guess one would have been the lack of alcohol sales. So for my brother-in-law and my sister who were with us, they couldn't grab a beer. And I think that would have really put the experience over the top if you would have been able to do that. So instead you had to chug one right before you walked in, and then afterwards went out and had some drinks and stuff. But it would have been, that was something that would have been nice to have as well when we were having the, the Runzas, I think is what it's called. So when we bought that for the full Nebraska experience, it would have been perfect with a nice cold beer, but we couldn't do that last year. Now you can. So that's awesome for Nebraska. And it's an obvious money generator for every program. I feel bad for the programs who, because of religious affiliations, that's their choice. That's what they've, decided. But I think that's a big piece of revenue that everybody has at their disposal. But for those that are saying, well, we can't do that because of the Southern Baptist Coalition or whatever, that sucks, because that's about probably $500,000. That's easy money that you're not getting because of, your beliefs. And that's sticking to your beliefs. I respect that, though.
I just wonder, I guess we could ask, maybe Matt Brown can do a story one time of which schools, which stadiums produce the most revenue from beer sales. Of course, there's some that are 100,000, so that's pretty easy compared to somebody that may have 45,000.
Like
but there's got to be revenue lost.
Midwest would probably be a safe bet. That's like reputationally. So Nebraska, maybe it'll be Nebraska actually. But I think that'll be a nice little boost for them and their crowds.
Those Heathens in Baton Rouge would lead the league.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, when we come back, we don't do the Gundy note. We might do that later on. But when we come back, Ricky Thompson, Jonathan McGill, Baylor and SMU tomorrow. Thank you for those in the chat room, as always, with all sorts of different back and forth opinions, questions, takes, and more. And then also watching us on Twitter. This is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
Ricky Thompson played at Baylor, played in the NFL. Sideline analyst for Baylor as they play SMU tomorrow, 11 o'clock kick up at Dallas, and he joins us on 365 Sports. Ricky, they threw for a lot, but not enough. Auburn was better and took advantage of it. Were you surprised at all that Sawyer did not, at maybe even if it was 2 or 4 times, take off and run a little bit?
Yeah, I was. I think there were some opportunities there for Sawyer to run. I don't know if that was coach instructed or just Sawyer's instinct. It's hard to know. Really, nobody spoke to that. Coach Aranda said he was healthy. I do think it would have helped if he'd have taken off a couple of times. We saw that on the other side of the football, and it changed the entire football game. But had to have rushing yards. You know, you get the one run back from Washington, a 50-yarder. He's actually over 100 yards rushing, but you still only have, 120 total. Have to run the football better and better run it better this Saturday. It may be the same result.
So, Ricky, I know it's mostly about the result and now the next one, but I really enjoyed that atmosphere. I don't know about you. It just felt like a big-time game, and you figured that it would with an opponent like Auburn coming in, and that might be very well the only time they ever come to McLean Stadium. But there was promotions out the wazoo, but it all worked, and it felt cool to be back, and that was a hell of a way to start off the season, even if it was a disappointing outcome. What did you think from your perspective?
Yeah, the crowd was great. In fact, a couple of times I just took my headset off. It's really hard to hear any of that when I've got that headset on. So I took it off just to take in some of the crowd, and I thought it was phenomenal. And it really loud when we were in a spot to make a play. You could hear the crowd on third downs. Auburn had the ball. I thought it was really effective a couple of times. I thought the students were great. Really, really good crowd participation when we were making plays. Craig, you're right. That's one of the best I've ever seen there. It really is.
Yeah, it was just obviously makes it for a lot of people that much more disappointing. They couldn't win, but that's the breaks. That's the game. So coming out of this, a lot of opinions on specific things, but were you finding yourself for a team that rolls into this year feeling like we can win 9, 10 or more, compete for the Big 12? Did you find yourself more encouraged by that idea or more discouraged by that idea, and why?
Bad answer, but I think I'm neutral at this point. I think that was a game where we didn't really know what Auburn had. I think some people had that figured in obviously as a win, some as a loss. I really didn't know. I thought Auburn was a little better than I thought they'd be. I know specifically up front, I know they were better than I thought they would be. We really didn't see what we thought was a strong part of their offense in a group that's probably one of the top receiving corps in the country. But when your quarterback got you the way Arnold did us, you really don't need the receivers outside. So they played to the strengths of their game, and their quarterback was running the ball well, and that killed us. But I think generally that may be one of the top, what do you think, 2-3 teams we play all season. I think maybe they're that good. We'll see. I hope they are. And if that's the case, you come back and beat SMU this weekend, then you have something. But I do think you have a little more pressure Saturday than you would have, obviously, if you'd beaten Auburn.
How much in this series that they've played recently, and you know the history, SMU being a part of the Southwest Conference, and now they're a part of a Power 4 or Autonomy 4 conference. How much do you think SMU just hates Baylor?
Well, I don't know if hate's a good, yeah, maybe it is a good word. I think they probably do. I mean, they've lost, 12 or 13 in a row. I promise you this one has been circled for a long period of time, just like when they played TCU. I think they probably felt like they got left out of some of this conference realignment. We were a part of it. TCU was a part of it eventually after we were. And I think there's a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And I can promise you, they play 12 games, and I can bet this is among the top tier 2 or 3 that they want to win. And I'm telling you guys, they will be ready.
Yeah, no, they're very, very well coached. They didn't run the ball, particularly nothing gaudy last week. 33 carries, 140 yards, so maybe even a little bit lower than they would like, but threw for 260. So rather than focus on their offense for a second, Jackie Marshall, I was just gobsmacked by how much everything in that game changed when he went down. Like, I get they're important players, but you would have thought it was like Ndamukong Suh was suddenly taken out of the lineup. Were you surprised by how much they missed him, and how do you think they go about dealing with the lack of a Jackie Marshall for at least the foreseeable future, not knowing how a high ankle sprain is going to heal?
Yeah, well, first of all, I knew Jackie Marshall was pretty good. Watched him in scrimmages, and I thought that he played really well, even those early scrimmages, which are so hard to read. But to your point, I was really surprised that the defensive production in the front really collapsed when he went out. I think, 8 plays into the game, something like that. to that point, really, Auburn had done not much of anything offensively. And then he goes out, and it's Katie bar the door. They run it right down our throat, primarily with the quarterback. So, yeah, really surprised. Obviously, don't think he'll play this week. And if he doesn't, I'd hold him out against Stanford too and try to get him healthy for Arizona State. But, you would have hoped that guys stepped up. They didn't. And these coaches have had a week to prepare for that, and hopefully they'll adjust some positions up front and get guys where they think they should be with Jackie out. Of course, remember you lost Betts to Florida, and then the tragedy that everyone experienced with the loss there with Foster. So some depth that isn't there, but they're going to have better play up front. They're going to have to do it next week against a team that's pretty good at running the football with the quarterback as well, without your best defensive lineman.
How did Josh Cameron go so long without a catch? And I'm not even sure about target. I didn't see that stat, but he's your go-to guy. Okay, they also know that too. They can maybe bracket him or whatever, but he's an All-American type talent and receiver. What was going on there?
Well, I think two things. They were pressing him from play one, and I think that was intentional to try to take him away. Then with that, they're leaving Trigg manned up in the middle by a guy that's about 6 inches shorter than him. So I think it was natural to go to Trigg in the middle of the field. It was wide open. It was open all night. And then, of course, you had your receivers on the other side. Cole Wilson had a great night, primarily because he was manned up. And I think that's just the type of defense that they were playing. But Josh ended up with 2 catches for like 50-something yards, 57 yards for well over 20 yards a catch. So he's still an animal out there. This kid's 225, and I still fully expect for him to have a huge year. But, yeah, I was shocked. I thought we'd try to get him the ball early, and it just didn't work out that way. Of course, he still threw for 419 yards.
Isn't it crazy to be talking about this game? It's like, yeah, Sawyer could have played better, and yet you look at the stat. That's why box scores don't tell you everything, though, right? Because he had on paper an incredible game, but there's still like a little bit of meat left on the bone. It just seems funny given the numbers he put up.
Yeah, I didn't think Sawyer was nearly as sharp as we've seen him in the past. Yeah. He missed 2 or 3 backs on little swings out of the backfield. In fact, he missed them pretty badly early, and those were plays that probably pick up 5, 6, 7 yards, maybe swing some momentum here and there. I thought he missed Trigg once across the middle on the seam route that was open. Sawyer missed a couple throws that he doesn't generally miss. He's had 21 incompletions, still threw for 420. Think of what he would have done if it had been hot. He might have thrown for 500. But, yeah, pretty unusual to say a kid wasn't at his best and he throws for 419 yards.
So, Ricky, they have some receivers. We mentioned Cameron, but they do have what looks like, and you mentioned the yards and stats for Sawyer. They got some dudes that can make plays at the wideout position. You, of course, played the position. Your thoughts? Cole Wilson was good. All the other ones, they seem to be pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think so. Kobe Prentice had the touchdown. I mean, wasn't anybody within 10 yards of him when he caught it, but still, he was wide open, showed great speed. Cole has great speed out there. Ashton Hawkins can run. I mean, 2 or 3 of the guys that we've been talking about, we didn't even really see in this game. I mean, so there's still more guys to come. We may be wishing we had a couple of those guys on the defensive line versus outside before it's over, because these front guys are playing really well. I'm going to be anxious to see what Porter does, the Lorena kid. I think he's got a great opportunity out there too. But just the depth of this position is probably as good as it's been in a long time.
So I don't know how much we could learn from SMU beating East Texas A&M in week number 1, other than they just handled their business like you would expect them to do and soared pretty comfortably. Had a couple of pick sixes in that game as well, so that's something Sawyer's got to obviously be mindful of. But really solid quarterback. He can run if he needs to, but he's not like just a dual threat automatically in Kevin Jennings. What do you make of what you know of and maybe what you've seen of Rhett Lashley's group, and what do you think that means for the Bears and what they need to do this weekend to try to leave there with a W?
Well, I think obviously they're they're coached very well. You hear that all the time, but I think that's true with these guys. They're 36-2 or something like that at home in the last 38 games. So it's a tough out up there. And I think maybe talent-wise up front and their defensive fronts, I don't think they're going to be as good as Auburn. I don't think there's any question there. I'm going to be surprised if we can't run the ball against them some. Quarterback play out of them, not going to be like Auburn where it's planned runs, I don't think, unless they watch too much of last week. Maybe it will be. But I think he's more of a guy that likes to throw it first. But they're talented. I think they've got a linebacker that may be out, a lot of new guys up front on both sides of the ball. And I think, to me, those are going to be the keys to this game. Can we run the football against that SMU front, which to me is not going to be as strong as Auburn's? And can we get some production up front from our front guys, which we didn't get last week? If we do that on both sides, I think we win this game. I think we've got the talent to win it. I think we should win it, even though I know they're ranked 16. They've had a great season last year, but they're missing 7 or 8 of those guys that were on that defensive football team last year, too. And you got to think about that.
Craig has brought this up, that the last ranked team that Baylor beat was Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. In 2021, that was 2022, the day it started.
No, it wasn't. I think it was New Year's Eve.
It was New Year's Eve, yeah. So it's been 4 years since they beat a ranked team, and sometimes you go through a drought like that. One, because you're not very good. They've been up and down, but that surprised you when you think about it, that it was back then?
Well, yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, but I guess that's a fact. And there's been a couple of years in there where we haven't played great football. But last year, you click off 6 games in a row, you would think one of those teams in there would have been ranked. But that's a fact, and what a huge step that would be to, after a disappointing loss last week and that great crowd, to come back, win on the road against a ranked team. Then everything's back where it should be. You're going to beat Stanford. If you don't, you're in real trouble. But you're going to beat Stanford. Then you've got Arizona State coming here, the first conference game. They're ranked. You're going to have another one of those crowds like you did against Auburn. So I think that's how important this game in Dallas is tomorrow, for this season and the rest of the year, that we get this win and get back on track.
Well, one of the things is that last year we knew what happened the year before. It was a disaster at 3-9. And then they start 2-4, and then they pull it out. Sawyer takes over, and then they get into a nice run. You can't afford, even though it would be Auburn, who we know is really talented but not ranked, SMU, who's ranked if you don't win this one, and then you have Arizona State. You're staring at 1-3 without getting past the second week. They can win and everything maybe gets better, but they sure don't need to start like this and have to pull it out of the mud again and wear themselves out doing it, right?
No, absolutely not. And I think we knew from the beginning that the back half of the season was the weaker part of our schedule. Not that it's weak, but it's the weaker part of our schedule. And I think we all talked by mid-October, this team could be either in or out of it. And I think that's still the case. So, again, puts even more pressure on tomorrow, because I think crowd is important for that Arizona State game. I think tomorrow affects that crowd one way or the other. It's hard to think ahead like that, but you don't need the players doing it, but it does, and we can talk about it. So that's added pressure on this game. And again, I think it's a game we can win if we play the way we need to play. And sooner or later, you've got to do that. You've got to win the games that you got the capability of winning, no matter how tough they are, no matter what the environment is. You've got to win some games like that, and it starts tomorrow.
All right. You played against SMU as a player back in the 70s. Any specific memory? I know 74, Baylor won 31-14. Next year, 34-31 SMU. Any memories specifically about SMU when you were playing?
Yeah, I thought it was the junior year, the year we won the league. That was the day everybody thinks it's the Cotton Bowl. It wasn't. It was when we played SMU in the Cotton Bowl that the sign outside Waco said, "The last one to leave town, turn out the lights." That was actually for the SMU game. And that was in the Cotton Bowl. We won 31-14. And what I remember about that game as much as anything, it was like a home game. I don't know what the crowd was, but I know about 80% of it was green and grove. And that was a lot of fun to have that game. That's when SMU still played in the Cotton Bowl, and to win it, and with the atmosphere toward the end of the year like that, the only game left after that was Rice. So we just had to win out, and there was a tremendous Baylor crowd at that game, and I'm hearing there's going to be a good Baylor crowd there tomorrow. I hope that's right.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate it. Have a great broadcast. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Ricky Thompson, a former Baylor wide receiver sideline analyst for Baylor's radio network, with us on 365 Sports. When we come back around the corner, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about the ranking thing, because I had a couple people say, like, no, it can't have been that long since they won a ranked game. And okay, so I'm not always right, but I feel like I pretty much try to know what I'm talking about for the most part. And so they beat number 8 Ole Miss in 2021, or I guess it was technically January 1st is what it was. It was New Year's Day. I said New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Day. So 2022, they beat number 8 Ole Miss. And then bear with me while I flip through these seasons, but 2022, the follow-up. So the streak starts, right? Lost to number 21 BYU when they were the number 9 team in the country, Baylor was. They fall, get a couple wins. Then October 1st, loss. Number 9, Oklahoma State. Later on in the year, loss. Number 19, Kansas State. Week later, loss. Number 4, TCU. Week later, loss. Number 23, Texas. So that is 0-5 against top 25 teams
in 1 year.
In 2022. In 2023, loss in week number 2 to number 12, Utah. Loss in week 4 to number 3, Texas. Loss in week 10 or 11 to number 25, Kansas State. So 0-3 against top 25 teams in 2023. And then last year, okay, I almost thought that it said number 21, FCS Tarleton State. I was like, wait a second. So that doesn't count. Loss week number 2 to number 11, Utah. Loss in week number 5 to number 22, BYU. Loss in week number 6 to number 16, Iowa State. So that's another 0-3. So that's what, like 0-11 in the last,
at least, yeah.
0-11 against top 25 teams since 2021. 0-11. And then that stretch that he's talking about, that he would have thought that, well, they won like 6 games down the stretch. Tech wasn't ranked. Oklahoma State wasn't ranked. TCU wasn't ranked. West Virginia wasn't ranked. Houston wasn't ranked. Kansas wasn't ranked. Their schedule lightened up because they had played 3 top 25 teams in the first like 6 weeks, and then they play a single one after the halfway point. So, yeah, they won all those games, but not a single one of those teams was ranked. So, again, I'm doing the math in my head. I suck at math, but I'm pretty sure that's 0-11 since 2022 started in top 25 games for Dave Aranda.
I didn't even realize they had played that many ranked teams, but you're right. Yeah, you mentioned that, and that didn't surprise me, because the next year after 2021, you go, 6-7, blow a tire, it's 3-9. And then last year, of course, even though they turned the corner, beat teams, and when they beat Tech, that kind of turned them on. And then they, of course, lost to LSU down in Houston. So, yep.
Well, you can break that tomorrow. Like go in tomorrow, and that doesn't exist anymore. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad. It's a pretty bad little stretch they've been on that I don't think even everybody realizes. But it was something that dawned on me last week, and they have an opportunity tomorrow, and they'll have more. Arizona State will be ranked, I'm sure, and I think that they're going to play pretty much most. They won't play Tech this year. I don't think they play BYU either. Who I'm just saying would be one of those teams. So yeah, long way to go, but Arizona State coming up will be ranked, and then maybe TCU in the middle of the season, and then later on Utah. But beyond that, there's a bunch of teams they play this year that I don't think are going to be ranked when they play them. So tomorrow's going to be one of maybe only 2 or 3 chances they have. And if you go by the average of what I just said, outside of what I think was like 22 maybe, where they played like 6 ranked teams, last couple of years have been 3 apiece, and so SMU would be 1, and then ASU, and we'll see where TCU is at that point, and Utah. So yeah, they maybe have like 3 or 4 on the horizon, but yeah, it's not a good streak to be on.
No, it's not. And man, it just seems like when you get on that streak, it takes forever to get one. I just put the link up to the office pool for the college football pick'em. Now, there's one issue with Paul out. I'm not sure if there's anybody that can approve. If you have not already signed in, I was able to go to the link, make my picks. I kept thinking I'd made my picks, but it showed me that I didn't, because I hadn't picked the teams that I was using for the tiebreaker. So I did that. I'm registered. Some of you have said you got in. Craig, I just sent you the link. It might be the same one you're using. And so I don't know. We'll try to see if we can get that. But we should have had that approved and ready to go with Paul being out of pocket.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get that done.
I don't know if anybody else is getting this, but you sent me the link, and that's the one that I've been on. It's telling me that I need the manager's approval, basically. Current status pending. Please contact league manager. So if you get that, just know that I'm getting that too, and we'll try and figure that out. And definitely have this in order by next week, so we won't have any more hiccups along the way, but appreciate those that are taking part.
All right, Brandon Rowe today runs the mothership along with Garrett Ross running the mothership, along with Andrew Valade being a part of running the mothership. And this is 365 Sports.
Edward Jones financial advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones financial advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by, let's be friends.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
This is 365 Sports.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Paul is out until next Wednesday. Craig here with me, 365 Sports, and so is former SMU defensive back, cornerback, and safety Jonathan McGill, as SMU and Baylor play tomorrow in Dallas. Jonathan, thank you very much for your time. SMU back in the top 25. They made the college football playoff. You know that. You were a part of that. What does this game mean against an in-state rival? They haven't played a lot. They used to be a part of the same Southwest Conference well before you were even born. But what does this game, in your opinion, mean?
I think this is a big game just for the state of Texas. You know, last week with Texas being able to, go down and lose to Ohio State, kind of, the top spot, quote unquote, if you will, in Texas, kind of up for grabs, the best team in Texas. And so I think it's huge. Baylor recruits the DFW area heavily. Dallas, SMU does the same thing as well. So I think this gives you a little bit of bragging rights, especially, I did do a little bit of history check and figured out, the last 13 times Baylor, has put it on SMU pretty bad. And so you get bragging rights, you get, recruiting battles, and you get an opportunity to play on a national stage in front of a lot of people and really try to make a mark. So I think this game is pretty big for both programs.
So, Jonathan, you started your career at Stanford and then eventually, after a few years, transferred to SMU, grad student last year to close out your career. What was that like, closing out on a playoff run and the first year in the ACC and then being a part of it the year prior, seeing, kind of the rise up and being able to experience all that with Rhett Lashley and company?
Yeah, I was really blessed to be able to do that. It was probably the most fun I've had playing football in terms of playing with guys that I've known growing up in the same area as me, Brandon Crossley, Preston Stone, Justin Osborne playing O-line. And so getting the opportunity to really play against them or with them and also, play for Coach Lashley, who recruited me when I was in high school when he was the offensive coordinator back at SMU. And so it's great. It was really fun. The transition from my first year, we were in the American. We won that conference. The student body started coming to games more often. Then we go to the ACC, and then we start selling out crowds and all of that type of nature. And so for a kid from Dallas, from Cockblocker, that was something, that I really had enjoyed. I had all my family members come to games, friends, former coaches from, Little League football all the way up to high school, being able to come up to games and really just be able to watch me. And that was something that I really wanted to do and something I love doing.
We have had Kevin Jennings on multiple times. RJ Maryland joined us, a couple of others during these last couple of years. Of course, Coach Lashley too. So when the news came down that SMU would be a part of the ACC, which was a huge deal for the program and the fan base, what was the reaction of the football team? And did you expect to have that kind of success that quickly?
Yeah, so the instant reaction for all of us, we were extremely ready and happy for the opportunity. A lot of us kind of felt like we were either overlooked coming out of high school or overlooked in the transfer portal. And so it was something for us to have a chance to prove, that we definitely can compete and belong at that level. And I would say, I think we did expect to have that type of success. When you show up and you do things the right way, oftentimes, life rewards you. And so, we worked extremely hard. We did the little things. We did what we needed to do. And so when outcomes came as, wins, we weren't too shocked about that. And so I think we had those expectations. Obviously, some other, people outside our program didn't. And so we were a shock or, quote unquote, a Cinderella story to some people. But for us, we were just doing what we normally do and what we did the previous season before and winning the American Conference.
What was it like to play with Kevin Jennings? Just kind of how would you describe him as a player and leader, being the quote unquote face of the franchise, even though there were a lot of great players last year and this year, but kind of being that front man, how would you describe his play and his leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Kevin, one thing that's very interesting about him, his favorite player of all time is Aaron Rodgers, right? And so he thinks that's the greatest quarterback of all time. And you can kind of see that when he scrambles, he doesn't always scramble to run. He scrambles to throw. He scrambles to keep the play alive, to extend the play. He doesn't look to, okay, let me just, pick up this first down with my legs. Like, he will run if given the opportunity, but it's like, he kind of looks to throw first. And so I would say with Kevin, it was just exciting to see him, coming to his own this past season. And really now see him, actually be that guy. It's no longer a quote-unquote quarterback competition. And so I'm very excited to see him, his leadership style. He leads by example. He's going to be the first one in, the last one out type of guy. Does things the right way and really, takes the time to really meet people on the team, whether that's, walk-on, scholarship, transfer, first-year guy in his recruiting class. Doesn't matter. He treats everybody the same and tries to get to know them off the field because you can't lead people if you don't know them off the field, right? You can't just lead them in football. You have to be able to relate to them outside of the game. And so Kevin does a great job of doing that.
Could you tell the year before when you won the American Conference that it wasn't just a pretty good team, but could you see and sense that something was building like what happened last year?
100%. I knew that kind of when a lot of us had made the decision. Sorry about that. When a lot of us had made the decision to return, a couple of us could have left and went to the draft, but once I knew that, the guy like the Elijah Roberts, the Brandon Crossleys, the Kobe Wilsons, the Ahmad Walkers, on the defensive side and on the offensive side, guys could have transferred and went elsewhere, but they didn't. They decided to stay. And so once I knew that that was the type of culture that we had and we had instilled quickly, when we got there, in what was it, January of 2023, and ended up winning the championship later that year. I knew that was the type of team we had and the type of camaraderie that we had built. And so I knew going into the ACC, there was nothing really, it wasn't going to be too big of a moment or too big of a scenario for any of us because we were so tight, such a brotherhood, and really loved playing with each other and playing for one another.
So, Jonathan, I don't know how much you know about, what the Mustangs are facing tomorrow, but what's kind of the talk, I guess, leading into this game, being a big Texas rivalry? What are your expectations for what you think we'll see tomorrow?
I think we're going to see a great game. I have a lot of respect for Coach Spav. One of my high school quarterbacks, his name is Brady McBride. He went to Texas State and played actually for Coach Spav, and he loved him, raved nothing but great things about him. I actually had a chance to meet him last season. There was a bye week that we had at SMU, so I went to Coppell to watch a game. I know Edward Griffin really well. And so Coach Spav was actually there watching Edward, and I was on the field, got a chance to talk to him. Great guy, respectable guy. So, obviously he's known for his offenses. And so obviously expecting, electric and explosive type game. And, Baylor, watching last week, I was watching, the game. Obviously the tight end and the running back, Cole Wilson and Trigg are the receiver and the running back, and obviously, returning your Washington as well. So I'm excited to look at those guys on the offensive side and how they match up against our Mustangs on the defense. And so I'm ready for it. I think the whole state of Dallas is, or the whole city of Dallas is, and the state of Texas is going to definitely be tuned into this game.
Jonathan, you mentioned the crowd, the players, the fans, or the community, the fans started to get on board. They have SMU. It's a very small school. You know that. You're there, or you were there. But they started to show up a little bit. Is that still, in your opinion, always going to be a struggle?
I don't think so. Not anymore, I wouldn't say. I think kind of when you're trying to, establish identity, establish or recreate a culture with, Coach Dykes leaving and Coach Lashley having to come in, you're going to have some growing pains. And I think that now, we've established that culture of, we're going to have a football team, a great football team. They're going to be explosive on offense. We're going to, get turnovers and play fast on defense. Special teams is going to be explosive as well. And so I think as a fan and as a student, you love seeing that. And even, you're having opponents come in like Baylor, like Florida State, like Miami's going to come this season. Last year with Pitt being ranked like 16 at the time. So you're going to have great games and great measures to watch as a fan. So it's definitely going to be fun and a great experience. We've revamped our game day experience with, more music. We got fireworks, like everything that you would see from any other, top program in the country. SMU has with the new revamped, locker rooms and really sports facility as well. And so I don't think that's going to be a struggle moving forward. I think that our administration and our head coach has done a great job of trying to make game days very fun, and it has been fun.
So you had the interception. There was a story written about this last year when you picked off a pass against Florida State in your ACC opener. You picked off the pass. You handed it you had a large group of family at the game. You handed it to your mother. And then what happened? Florida State wanted the ball back. Tell me, kind of take me through that.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much getting an interception, and ended up, seeing my family in the crowd, and so I ended up, I still had the ball in my hand, ran up to him, gave it to my mom, because I think I had got an interception like at Stanford or something, and I had kept the ball. We had played Cal, I kept it. My mom was trying to get it, and I'm like, nah, like this is mine. Like I'm gonna keep it. I'll get you one like later. And so, fast forward a year, and I ended up actually giving her a ball. And the ball boy from Florida State was like, telling her, like, they need to get the ball back. That's our ball. We need to get it. And so she ended up giving it back to them, being a nice person she is. And Coach Lashley ended up, once he figured it out, he was like, okay, like, we'll end up giving, your mom a ball. And so he ended up hooking her up, giving her SMU football.
You, Craig mentioned that you were at Stanford, and now, of course, you spent your last 2 years of your college career was at SMU. We look at what's going on with the transfer portal. Obviously, you were able to take advantage of that as well. it seemed like a lot of players that do transfer end up going back closer to home. Was that part of your decision too?
Yeah, I think that was something that I had viewed, and something I wouldn't say that was the driving force, but I think that was something that was definitely a positive. Being able to play in front of my family and my friends, and a lot of coaches that have been so influential in my life. I mean, just giving them opportunity and me getting an opportunity to come back home, get back in the routine of things. I know what food places are the best. I know if I wanted to get a steak, if I wanted to get, a burger, if I wanted to get any of those things, barbecue, like I knew where to go, compared to, when you go out to California, and for me, Northern California, it's it's culturally different. And so, just getting a chance to get back home, kind of know where to go, know the ins and outs, and also, still be able to, run home, make it home on Sundays, go to church with the family, and then come back home and hang out with them at the house, and then still be able to go up to the school, and go back home. And so I think that was a positive. I don't think it was the biggest driving force, but it was definitely something that I had looked into.
So you're at Stanford, you go to SMU, they join the ACC, and then your former team, I think the timeline was not that far after that, then Stanford joins the ACC. What was the reaction when that happened?
I just laughed because I was like, how ironic is that? Because I honestly want to say when I first was in the portal, that was when there was rumors that SMU was going to be trying to join the Pac-12 conference, and that was before the Pac-12 had unraveled. And so I didn't even think I would ever have an opportunity to play Stanford, let alone go back up there and be in the away side locker room. So I mean, I was very happy. I got a chance to play them and really be able to rekindle those relationships I had with my teammates, and also some of the director of football operations is still up there. The equipment staff is still up there. So I had an opportunity to talk to them. But it's no bad blood. Stanford doesn't owe me anything. Legit. Went there, had the best, 4 years of my career. Graduated, was a captain. Have lifelong friendships that I'll, cherish to this day. And then got an opportunity to, play at SMU and, ended up, going to the college football playoffs and winning the championship. So, nothing but love for both of these universities. I'm just so blessed to be able to say that I contributed at both universities.
My last question, Jonathan, about the transfer portal. They ruled yesterday, although it's got to be approved, that they may go back to just one transfer portal period the first week and a half or so of January. As someone that has been a part of that, is that going to work? Is that going to be fair to the student athletes who want to move on? Your thoughts about just having a 10-day window rather than multiple windows?
I think in theory, it seems like it would sound better because, guys won't have to get into the portal if their team is in a bowl game. And so from a organizational coach standpoint, I see that, but also from the player side, 10 days, right, isn't a long time. And a lot of the times you want to go on a visit to a school to see what it's actually like or, to do that. And so I was in a situation where I could have gone to one school, but since they were a quarter system, I would have had to report a week early. Then I would have had to take a visit to another school. And so I kind of ran into the problem of, okay, well, how much do I really want to go to this school? Do I really need to see it? Do I not? And so that's just going to get hectic because it's going to be a lot of schools hitting up a lot of, student athletes, and it's going to be multiple schools with wanting to get you on a visit on the same day as other schools. And so from an athlete perspective, I think it's going to cause a little bit more stress and something that you really got to focus on. But in terms of organizationally, I see the structure of what the NCAA is trying to do. I just don't know that's the most efficient way if, you got 15 schools all trying to get you to come on the same day, right? So I think that's going to be kind of interesting to navigate on.
Hey, man, it's great to have you on the show. When I talked to Christopher Smith earlier, he said you're going to love Jonathan McGill if he's available. Glad we got you. Thanks for your time, and enjoy it. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Jonathan
McGill, former Stanford and SFU defensive back, on what he has seen over the last couple of years. SMU now in year 2 of the ACC and hosting Baylor tomorrow at 11 o'clock in Dallas. When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5. We'll have the poll results. This is hit the subscribe or like button, but also please subscribe if you possibly can, if you haven't already. This is 365 Sports.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome to Paul Catalina's Top 5. Brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Today, teams on upset alert. Number 5, Illinois on upset alert versus Duke. Illinois is ranked, but Duke has Darian Mensah. Duke has Mario Diaz as their head coach. They have a very, very tough defense. Duke is going to contend in the ACC all year long, and this is their big non-conference game. Illinois is probably a little bit better on the depth chart, but I think that this is going to be a defensive slobber knocker, and whoever makes the big play on offense, whether it's Mensah or Luke Altmaier, quarterback-wise, is the one who wins the game. That's what I think goes down here. So Illinois on upset alert in this one. Number 4, Iowa State versus Iowa. Look, I think Iowa State might bowl through the rest of their schedule, but whenever this game happens, it's always a little bit disappointing to Cyclone fans, sometimes even when they win it, because they feel like they're far ahead of Iowa and they barely get by. Iowa does not have a lot of playmakers. Mark Gronowski, who I'm big on, didn't have a lot of numbers in week 1, although they won. Iowa State is kind of rolling right now. But it's Iowa. It's this Cy-Hawk trophy. This one always gets weird. They should win this game, but they've not really been that great in this game lately. So, or historically for that matter. So this is a big one that they need to get, because I think if they do, they're going to really continue to roll along. Number 3, Florida versus USF. DJ Lagway's that dude. But guess who else is? Byron Brown. Guess who would love nothing better than to roll into the swamp and get a dub? Alex Golish. So, Florida, and here's the other thing. Florida, after this one, and look, this is tough enough with Byron Brown. After this one, their schedule gets really, really got to play Miami. They got to play A&M. They got to play Texas. They got to play a lot of really good teams right in a row. This is like a very important game for Billy Napier if he wants the extension versus firing streak that could happen, because if he wins this one and then goes on to beat Miami and A&M and all these others and build some momentum, he'll get an extension in October. If this one goes or it doesn't go as well as you think it goes and you show some weakness and then those other big teams can come in and beat you, it's going to be tough for Billy Napier in Gainesville. Number 2, K-State versus Army. I talked about this game yesterday. Look, Army, they're 0-1. K-State is 1-1. I don't think K-State thought that it would be 1-1, and the 1 would be a very narrow win over their FCS opponent. Army comes in. It's always tough to prepare for Army. They've got the curse of the leprechaun that I talked about yesterday. They really need to watch out because Army's going to be locked and loaded as well after losing to their FCS opponent last week in Tarleton State. Congratulations once again to the Texans and Coach Todd Whitten, who was on the show on Monday. And number 1, Mizzou versus Kansas. Mizzou will be the favorite because they're at home and they're in a conference called the SEC. I think Kansas gets them. I think Jalen Daniels is ready to go. This game should be played every year. This should be their 10th game, their non-conference game. Bring back the border war. I think Rock Chalk Jayhawk gets this thing done, and Mizzou's on upset alert, and then the Big 12 gets that much-needed win that they need against a non-conference opponent. Enjoy the border war. Enjoy week 2 of college football. I will see you on Wednesday. Next week, there will not be top 5s on Monday or Tuesday. So if you need to go to rehab, call the number at the bottom of your screen. I'm just kidding. There's no number. Read the polls, guys.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. Here are the poll results. And the first one, who was in the wrong? In the SpitGate last night, Eagles 24, Cowboys 20. Jalen Carter ejected before a snap. 63% say Jalen Carter, both 23%. And then Dak Prescott, 13.
Yeah, I think, Andrew, 3 options might be the way to go sometimes, I think, because it just eliminates some of the gray area sometimes. So, yeah, pretty clear cut here. Good. And I think really the sentiment I share is that Jalen Carter is the most to blame, but that both do share some blame. And it was very interesting to watch that game last night. Cowboys fans, I think that was very encouraging versus how negative the last couple of weeks have been in light of the Parsons trade and just kind of not really knowing what to expect this offseason, and that gets thrown in your lap. And now it's like, oh, well, what is this season going to be? And that was really encouraging. Now, how much of that was because of Jalen Carter being out is I guess the question, but that was respectable and an encouraging showing, but it was very interesting to see the Jalen Carter situation happen. And then next thing you know, after halftime, we get this new video that clearly shows Dak doing his thing and spitting in the direction of, at the ground of Jalen Carter. So that was something we did not know when Carter first got thrown out, and there was a lot of reaction to just him being an idiot or this or that. But that was a good job by the camera crew to make sure to tell the whole story. And even with the whole story told, it's still Jalen Carter's fault. I mean, Dak definitely was instigating him, but Dak did what I guess everybody was referring to, like he rage baited him. It's simple as that. He rage baited Jalen Carter, who wasn't smart enough or mature enough to not know that it would be stupid to spit exactly on a guy. And so he got tossed and looked like a fool. Great player, but a bad decision. And Dak, I'm sure, got a good chuckle afterwards, even though they lost, of the fact that he was able to bait him and get him thrown out of the game before he even played a snap. So well done. Well done rage bait by Dak Prescott.
I was listening to a show this morning, and they were kind of talking about how Dallas kind of did come out with a little edge. And Prescott, yeah, I think he did bait him. I think both share the blame, but you got to be better. Jalen Carter's got to be smarter than that.
Can't spit on somebody.
No.
Like, I mean, that's just period. Bottom line, doesn't matter what Dak did or anything like that. Like, if Dak had said something like completely horrendous and like, I'm glad your grandmother died or something. And I don't know, maybe Jalen Carter has both of his, but if he had said something like that, like fire off a punch at the guy, right? But just spitting on a dude, that was stupid. So Dak definitely outsmarted him in that exchange. But yeah, that's going to add a lot of fuel to that second meeting here in a little while.
I'm curious about whether he was suited up, he was active, he doesn't play it down. Does he get paid for that game? I would think so.
I mean, conversation I've seen is that he that should count as a game suspension because he didn't play in the game. Yeah. I don't know how that all works, so yeah. I won't act like I do, but I I think, he's counted for as a game, I guess, technically. So I don't know if that answers your question.
He'll get fined. He was suspended for the game. And you wonder if then they go back and they look at what Guyton did with a left hook. Does he get fined? Probably sometime early next week. Now, the last poll. Which game has you the most excited for the weekend? And week number 2, I said Michigan, Oklahoma. 2 banger names, even though both last year weren't very good. Iowa State's the one that intrigues me a lot because of what I think about it, what I've seen with Iowa State. But, boy, I tell you what, I look forward to all of them, including KU, Missouri, too. But Michigan, Oklahoma is the one at the top of my list.
Yeah, I think there's a good slot of games that are hopefully going to be nearly as exciting as last week's were, because that was a lot of fun and a great way to kick off the season. So don't have quite as many offerings, especially in the top-ranked versus top-ranked types of games. But I think all 4 of these could be really, really fun. Illinois Duke's the lowest vote getter, which I would have expected it to be, but I think that's intriguing in its own ways. And then renewal of the just nasty rivalry between Kansas and Missouri is going to be a lot of fun. Great opportunity for both schools. And Iowa State should be typical Cyhawk, which is a lot of great rivalry football. But yeah, Michigan OU's. I mean, I know I'm a little biased, but I would have said that regardless. I mean, that's 2 as big as you can get brands from the 2 biggest power leagues. And I think a big meaning behind whether you win or lose this game for Oklahoma in particular, like they need a big win like this, and to fall to a Michigan team in Norman who's not quite up to like Michigan level of a couple years ago, I think would feel like a little bit of not only a missed opportunity for sure, but maybe even a little bit of a gut punch for Oklahoma. Not like the season's ended or anything like that, but just I think you expect to win this game at home. And if you don't, with all you did this offseason, it's going to be really disappointing.
Yep, they need something, a feel good, especially the way last year ended with that. We had the win against Alabama, but that was more of perhaps a facade after the loss to Navy in the bowl game. When we come back, it'll be Monday. We'll have much more evidence from the weekend, including the games Andrew was talking about as far as the ones you're most interested in. Garrett Ross and Brandon Rowe, thank you very much. Andrew Valade, thank you very much. Our sponsors. Back on Monday. Have a great weekend of college football, Craig. Thank you. I'm David Smoak. Good night, 365 Sports.